The story begins with our protagonist's father kicking him out of the clan due to his many infractions. He was also stripped of his cultivation and his mother was imprisoned. The protagonist was beaten. In the heart of our protagonist's father, there is not a single drop of regret. The boy resented. "I am made of your flesh and blood. I called you father for 16 years, and today you destroyed my cultivation with your own hands. Mistake, it's all wrong. The maid's son is stronger than he is. The protagonist's Bran is tired of putting up with it." Dad said, "How dare he smile?" Shunyan said that he was wrong. His father had hated him since he was a young boy. He had practiced so hard to earn his trust, and the latter had always only praised Qintian and Qinhen. Therefore, he felt guilty that he wasn't doing enough. Seitian added that these were just his illusions. His father hated him with all his heart. His father smirked. Shunyan asked, "What are the clan's plans? Why are ordinary people forbidden to cultivate?" He told his father that he despised his mother, and he had lost his face as the leader of the family. His father told him to shut up. Shunyan said, "Father's eyes really stabbed when he felt guilty." The father punched his son in the chest and said he could destroy him. The impact was so strong that Shunyan flew out of the window. He fell straight to the ground. Shunyan bled and said that from today, he was abandoning his father and taking his mother's surname. He announced that there was no more Qin lineage for him. His name is now Shunyan. His older brother told him to shut up. The older brother asked his father's permission to teach Shunyan intelligence because he parent knew respect. Shunyan said that he had already forgotten about his brother's existence until he spoke. His brother said that he hadn't forgotten anything. He said that Shunyan cultivated to get his father's attention. His brother swung his knee at Shunyan's chin. The impact was so strong that the young man was thrown backwards. He said, "That's what you should do. You won't go against your father." His brother then forced him up and continued to beat him. While beating Shunyan, the older brother broke both of his legs. The pain was unbearable. Shunyan begged for mercy, but his brother wasn't going to stop. The brother told his father how he had dealt with Shunyan. Father told Shunyan to get Shunyan out of the house and not to be touched again. After all, he's still a member of the family. His father added that if he died, so be it. The servants obeyed and carried out the command. Shunyan found himself in an abandoned wasteland at night. At this time, someone was hovering over the night city. He landed not far from where the battered and abandoned Shunyan lay. The stranger wondered what this boy was doing here at this time and in this condition. The stranger was lying on the bed. There was interest in his eyes. The young man asked, "What's going on?" Shunyan was in a large vat of hot water. "This is probably so that I can be eaten later," he thought. Suddenly he jumped up and thought that he wasn't ready to die yet. After all, he had to save his mother. The door swung open and a stranger walked in, telling Shunyan not to move from his seat. The stranger said that he had been preparing this elixir for 10 years. If Seitian doesn't take it seriously, he'll be in trouble. The young man realized that he was in trouble again, and it was a very bad situation. Shunyan asked him not to eat it as he has to save his mother, and he has someone else to take revenge on. In fact, it's not a good time to eat it. The stranger said he wasn't going to eat the boy. Suinian was both pleased and surprised. Wasn't this the human medical soup he was currently simmering in? The stranger stated that he liked the boy. The stranger offered Shunyan to be his disciple. Shunyan questioned whether he had correctly understood that this powerful man wanted to make him his disciple. His physique and momentum far surpassed the ancestors of the Qin family. It was very likely that he was at General Xuanyuan's level. The stranger said that's the way it is, and he's waiting for Shunyan's answer. The guy happily agreed. The stranger said that there was no need for a teacher worship ceremony. His name is Bai Tianhan. He is now the young man's teacher. Shunyan asked not to boil him in this soup anymore. "I think it's ready now." The master said it was too early to stop, for the young man had both legs broken. The guy looked at his leg and concluded that his cultivation had been restored. Shunyan said that his legs were fine and he felt that he had become stronger. Shunyan thought that this 10-year-old medicine could restore more than just the body. The stranger activated the energy transformation mode and a fireball appeared in front of him. The temperature in the vat with Shunyan began to increase rapidly. The boy screamed that he was in a lot of pain. The stranger told him not to move. It was for his own good. Shunyan said that in that case, he can still last here. He wants to be strong. The guy calmed down and started meditating right in the vat of elixir. He was extremely collected and focused. Suddenly, Shunyan's eyes flashed with fire. He jumped out of the vat with a scream, which immediately collapsed. Teacher Bai decided that this was a success. The guy shouted and thought that it was a supreme being of Kowloon. This is the legendary divine blood of Kowloon. Teacher rejoiced. Because he is now a divine-level blood master, this is an immortal divine sect. Those with divine sect blood on their hands are waiting. One day, you will pay for everything you have done. All you have to do now is to be afraid. Shunyan felt that he had become much stronger. The Chin family will be very surprised when we meet again. The teacher said to start by getting dressed. The girl in red continued to lie on the bed and watch. Teacher Bai decided to tell Shunyan about the basics of immortal cultivation. The most important thing was talent. The more powerful the talent, the faster and stronger the cultivation will be. The division of power is about the same as that of Reiki monks. It also consists of levels. The only difference is that each spiritual monk has 5 stars. And when a spiritual body cultivates, it calls out to one of the 9 heavens. A magical cultivation body could defeat all spiritual monks of the same level. Therefore, the magic cultivation body was destroyed thousands of years ago. Master said that Shunyan is still very weak. He doesn't need to reveal his secret early. Shunyan said that he would do everything to successfully cultivate and expand the divine demon sect. Master Bai handed over the sect's scripture to his disciple, Ancient God and Devil. Master said that he still had a lot of things to do and wouldn't be able to control Shunyan's cultivation. The disciple must go to the nearest Qingling college and start training. The master has flown away, but he promised to return. Shunyan walked up to Qingling College. It was compared to the best college in Dongyang country. It was a school that everyone in the country dreamed of. Qin Hung happened to be here as well. The young man decided to look at his facial expression when he met him. Someone shouted at the young man, "What's he doing here?" The young man said that his name was now Shunyan. It was a girl. She said that she knew about the boy's expulsion from the family and that he was stripped of his cultivation. Does he really want to go to Qingling College? The girl was called out by a young man. It was her brother, Qin Nian. The girl told Shunyan not to look at her like that. Before, she was only with him because he was the 3rd young master of the Qin family. But now he looked like a pathetic stray dog. The girl said that she can't treat him like she used to. They're completely different people now. Nian said that she was very generous, and he learned a lot of new things for himself. The girl said it was very late. She was engaged to Qin Tian yesterday. Shunyan congratulated her and wished her good luck in their life together. The girl was angry with the young man. Qin Tian shouted at Shunyan. He called him a lowlife, told him to get on his knees and apologize to the girl. Everyone around them began to discuss what was going on. They realized that now there might be a mess. Shunyan said that he wouldn't do that. Qin Tian, with the words, "You're sick of living?" attacked the young man. Shunyan elegantly, effortlessly dodged his opponent's punch and punched the offender right in the face. The girl was amazed that her fiancé had been slapped. He fell to the ground by inertia. The groom said with a swollen cheek and indignation that Shunyan should not fight back. He would be finished for it now. Qin Tian decided to use the Raging Tiger Fist and went on the attack. Everyone in the surroundings realized that Qin Tian was very angry. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used his martial skills. This Shunyan was definitely out of luck. The girl was very anxious. Qin Tian managed to utter at the moment of attack, saying that he would help Shunyan leave this world with his fierce tiger fist. The attacker was already preparing to retaliate, but Shunyan stepped aside again and his offense flew past. Qin Tian stretched out on the ground again. His 2 cheeks were already padded. The young man jumped to his feet, furious at what had happened. He had not expected this. Once again, he had been screwed over. All he could do was curse at Shunyan. Qin Tian again in the same vein continued to threaten and promised to take the life of the insolent person who dared to dodge his fist of fury. Shunyan was tired of listening to this chatter and kicked up his opponent's leg. Qin Tian flew a decent distance and landed with a sack. The girl was stunned. She didn't know that her former boyfriend was so strong. Shunyan excused himself and said that he had just knocked him out. The girl said that since Shunyan had recovered his cultivation, they could be together again. After all, she had always loved him. Shunyan was surprised by her confession. Leaving his ex-girlfriend, the young man said they were not right for each other. Shunyan liked himself, and he said with fury that Qin Hung would be next. 1 hour later, Shunyan was already listening to a college lecture. Shunyan was sure that he could pass the physical training with his talent, but it would expose his body to gods and demons. But he didn't know yet what level of talent he had. Shunyan realized that he still needed a magic level. Near the spiritual gate, a royal-level talent appeared. He stood with his head held high, and everyone said he had his nose in the clouds. Does having a royal level of talent mean arrogance? He was said to have reached the 9-star warrior level at the age of 16. That's a king-level blood talent. Shunyan asked his interlocutor if he knew the person standing on the podium. He replied that he was Ouyang Tainlan, the second son of the Ouyang family of Yuzhou. There are 2 geniuses in the Ouyang family. Chen Feng is a renowned genius who possesses legendary emperor-level talent. Tainlan is not far behind his brother, possesses blood and royal-level talent. Tainlan is proud because not only is he gifted, but he's also supported by his older brother. Shunyan decided to meet his interlocutor and introduced himself. He said that he knew him, who had been exiled from the Qin family. The interviewee said his name was Chen Woody. He made up this name for himself because he is an orphan. Chen Woody said that he would always defend Shunyan. Then Cheng Woody was called to the podium. Someone called Chen Woody not literate and said he shouldn't even participate in the first round of selection so as not to dishonor Qingling College. Chen Woody stepped up to the podium and told the man to hold his tongue or he would not be well. Chen Woody said that his opponent had only passed the first stage of the selection process. Therefore, it cannot be assumed that he has already entered college. The interlocutor replied that one must act like a lion if one has king-level talent. Chen Woody was still bickering with his interlocutor for a long time about how a king-level talent should behave. Tainlan said that perhaps Chen Woody had no talent at all. Chen Woody offered to bet if he had a king-level talent, Tainlan would kneel in front of him, bow 3 times, and call him grandfather. Tainlan continued and said that if he didn't have a king-level talent, he would be deprived of cultivation, break his legs and arms, and crawl around the mountain gate. Shunyan didn't think that Tainlan would turn out to be so cruel. He knew what it was like to have broken legs. It's very painful. Chen Woody agreed to make that bet. A teacher appeared and said that he didn't believe that Chen Woody had king-level talent. Chen Woody encouraged everyone to watch his king-level talent. A green glow appeared, and the spiritual gate recognized 2 king-level talents, and everyone realized that it was indeed a king-level talent. Tainlan screamed that it was impossible, and he was being tricked. Chen Woody said, since Tainlan lost, let him kneel down, bow and call him grandfather. Tainlan said Woody had no right to teach him. Chen Woody replied that he could teach him because he had reached a talent level above the royal level. Tainlan stated that in the entire college, only his brother had an emperor-level talent. Woody stated that it was just an imperial talent. Chen Woody called Shunyan over to show off his spiritual talent. Tainlan didn't believe that Shunyan could be an emperor-level talent. After all, everyone knows him. Chen Woody continued to stand his ground. Tainlan said that it was a son from the Qin family of Yunhai City. Tainlan continued to say that one had been deprived of cultivation. Chen Woody said that Shunyan had recovered his cultivation. Tainlan said that Shunyan could be at most with a devil-level talent. After all, he's from the common people. His mother is a simple cleaning lady. Shunyan urged Tainlan to watch his language. He has no right to insult his mother. Tainlan continued in his own spirit and said that a simple cleaner always remains a cleaner. Shunyan shouted that he had had enough of living and lunged at his abuser. There was a bit of a scuffle. The teacher shouted that it was a violation of all the rules. A 4-star warrior cannot hit Ouyang Tainlan. Tai sat there beaten and didn't understand how this was possible. Chen Woody laughingly said that Shunyan was born with supernatural strength. It wasn't hard for him to beat Tainlan. Tainlan replied that even if Shunyan had great strength, he still didn't have a powerful talent. Shunyan said that he didn't even know what talent he had. And then Shunyan showed everyone what a talent he has. Tainlan was taken aback. He had certainly never seen anything like this before. Tainlan was astonished to see that the talent recognition stone was broken. It had just cracked. Imperial blood. Now the Ori will definitely blossom. Shunyan couldn't believe that he had an imperial talent. He thought it was only a magical one. Shunyan said, "You can check again." Master said that Chen Woody and Shunyan had already been accepted into the college and didn't need to go through the next stages of selection. Tainlan was very angry. His ex-girlfriend kept falling for him even more. Woody Cheney admired his new friend, an imperial-level talent, 6 years old, the strength of a 4-star fighter. How does he do it? Shunyan only silently spread his hands. Chen Woody took Shunyan's hand and said that he had poison in his body for several years now. Shunyan remembered where he could have come from. Qin Hung had once offered him tea to improve his cultivation. It's been 3 days. The junior cadet dormitory. Shunyan meditates. Lin Feng's tactics. Flames erupted from his mouth. Shunyan heaved a sigh of relief. He had managed to obtain 2 stars in just 2 days. Now, without suppression, an emperor-level talent would be unleashed. Shunyan noted that Reiki had been restored and was gaining momentum. Right now, its power was stuck in the body of the initial 9-star level, and that was preventing it from breaking through. Shunyan remembered how Master had told him that the body should fight in a real battle. Shunyan decided that he was ready to go to the arena. College students will receive 100 points each month to exchange them for basic life materials. It's common to bet on the winner at these fights. Shunyan decided that he would hide his identity. It was a dark arena list. Shunyan decided to bet, and the winner of one contest. The self-proclaimed dragon god entered the arena. The warrior was ready for a fight. The opponent said, "How did this junior 9-star cadet dare to challenge the star dimension?" The fighter replied that it is not forbidden for the junior to call out the middle class. Tiger said he would use only his fist and would teach his opponent a lesson. The tiger pounced on his opponent, stretching his arm forward and saying that this blow would end their battle. The self-proclaimed dragon god calmly dodged the attack and stabbed at his opponent's chest. Tiger was astonished at how this was possible. The opponent said that the power was good, but the technique should be worked on. Tiger was surprised at his opponent's speed. Surely he's a novice. The warrior said that he was an initial 9-star level god. He suggested that the opponent show all his abilities, otherwise there might not be another chance. Tiger said that now he will show everything he can do, the opponent will be badly hurt. Tiger decided to use the sandstorm technique. Shunyan tried to understand. What was the whole point of battles? The young men set up to throw as many punches as possible at their opponent. The energies of the warriors collided in a confrontation. The tiger powerfully flew off to the side. Shunyan thanked him for the lesson. He was all radiating a powerful energy. Another blow and the tiger flew away from his opponent again. Shunyan was in the arena and his opponent was downed. Shunyan was satisfied. He had finally succeeded. Now, with the improvement in divine ability, he would be able to boldly fight 3-star star-level opponents. Chen Woody said that there are only 10 of them, but only the top 3 can be called beauties. Shunyan asked what was the difference between them. All 3 girls have stunning looks, character, talent, and status. Chen Woody took Shunyan along. He said that they couldn't miss the chance and should see one of them. They approached the Zongking Pavilion of the Qingling College. Shunyan saw the girl and realized it was her. The year before, Shunyan had been hunting in the forest. There was a deer there. His knife was sharpened. And then a beautiful girl in a pink robe appeared. She fell senseless at the young man's feet. The guy thought she had been hunted and shot with a crossbow. He put her on his shoulders and ran. It was hard for him to run with her on his back. The young man found a cave and they hid there. He looked out stealthily from his ambush. The young man saw 3 hunters searching unsuccessfully for their prey. The girl began to regain consciousness. The girl had an arrow sticking out of her chest. The boy realized that the arrow was poisoned. He realized that the arrow was poisoned. The guy broke the arrow and pulled it out of the girl's body. The young man apologized, saying he was trying to save her and didn't want to hurt her. The guy, all anxious, sucked blood from the young stranger's chest. The young man immediately dressed her wound. He planned to visit her another day. His gaze was honest and naive. The young man noticed a jade pendant on the girl's belt. The young man thought he'd lost it in the woods, but the girl picked it up in a cave. She's been carrying it around with her all this time. This pendant was precious to Shunyan. His mother had crafted the pendant for his future bride. Chen Woody decided that all this was for a reason. Chen Woody said that this girl is 3rd on the list of charms. Shunyan tried to chase the immodest thoughts away from him. Chen Woody said that she now has a king-level talent. She went to college for 2 years. Now she's a Star Wars player. Shunyan thought that a 16-year-old man from Star Wars was worthy of being the main pride of Tianhai City. Chen Woody said that if Shunyan is in love, he has no chance. But for his imperial-level talent, she would also be suitable. Shunyan asked if she had a lover. Someone called out to Sister Shu'er. The young man asked if she was here. Showing the girl the notebook, he said it was no wonder she wasn't home. Chen Woody said his brother went from a 9-star warrior to a 1-star warrior in the Star World. The girl told Qing Hen to call her Murong Shui since they are not close. The young man was upset that they were so far apart since they were from the same town. The young man promised the girl to find the martial skills she was looking for. The guy said he'd stay out of the way and wait for her, and then he'd walk her home. People on the outside have pointed out that he should be ashamed since the girl doesn't want to be with him. The guy got really pissed off. The brothers met, and the eldest said that he didn't expect to meet Shunyan here. Wouldn't he like to challenge him? Shunyan said that he was no longer afraid of him. Big brother said that he didn't expect Shunyan to hate him so much after what he had done to him. Everyone around me was very surprised. The girl heard the two brothers talking. The older brother asked if Shunyan wanted to fight him. You're still young after all. Big brother said that he could ask father to let Shunyan return home. Father will let you come back. I am also sincerely kind to you. He said that this Shunyan really doesn't have a soul. Shunyan said, admiring his brother's ability to lie through his teeth. Shunyan said, my brother dishonored the maid, killed her, and took 2 more lives. You used my father to kick me out of the house. The older brother expressed surprise. Shunyan said that this maid had a strong back and 90 kilograms of weight. Shunyan said that when she died, he held her apron and had her fragrance on it. The older brother lowered his head in shame. The girl covered her mouth with her hand. Elder brother said Shunyan does not know remorse. Chin Hung said that he would teach a lesson in place of his father. Shunyan said that there wasn't enough room and one should go outside. The brothers went out into the street. Everyone around them wondered how there could be an argument between the brothers. Shunyan had recently entered college. He is a 6-star warrior. Chin Hen is a star warrior player. Shunyan noted that his brother has a very strong aura. He creates a powerful gust. Chin Hung told his brother not to blame him for his death. The hand-to-hand combat between the brothers has begun. The brothers did not spare each other and threw punches. It was hard to determine who would emerge victorious. The girl noted that Shunyan was able to resist his brother's attack, even though he only had the aura of a 6-star warrior. Chin Hung asked his brother, did he really want to win being a star fighter with the cultivation of a 6-star warrior? His older brother has decided to make Shunyan a total loser. He will never give him a chance to develop and grow again, even if he has an emperor-level talent. Shunyan said he's not a 6-star warrior. Brother is wrong. Shunyan prepared to attack and spurted out a sea of energy. Everyone decided that Shunyan wanted to make a breakthrough in battle. The girl watched with interest. Chin Hung said that he wouldn't leave a single chance for Shunyan. Chin Hung rushed forward with a victorious shout. Shunyan fearlessly met him. The warrior's face was twisted with horror. The brothers didn't want to give in to each other. Shunyan delivered a crushing blow to his brother's chest. The older brother stopped and started coughing up blood. As he fell, he wondered how this could have happened. He couldn't understand how his younger brother was able to defeat him. Shunyan said that nothing was impossible. He was able to win even as a 6-star warrior. Shunyan pointed out that fortunately for his brother, it is forbidden to kill in college. He can get out of college because of revenge. The older brother was frightened and cried out, "What do you want to do to me?" Shunyan asked his brother why he only remembered the kinship now. Why didn't he remember when he tried to kill him? Shunyan kicked his brother with fury. My brother cried out in unbearable pain. The blow had gone straight into the nest. The girl giggled. Everyone around them shifted their feet. Shunyan's gaze was full of determination. Chin Hung shouted for help. He was lying on the ground, his face twisted in pain. After Chin Hung was examined, it was found that his limbs were broken and so were 10 ribs. The nest could not be repaired. 3 days have passed. Chen Woody knocks on the door and calls out to Shunyan. Chen Woody told Shunyan that he had become famous. Shunyan was surprised. Chen Woody said that the news of the victory over his brother has spread throughout the college. Everyone knows that a 6-star warrior defeated a star warrior. This is just amazing. Shunyan was embarrassed out of modesty. Chen Woody said that Shunyan is now as famous as this dragon god. He is very arrogant. Our junior students hope that you can challenge the dragon god. Shunyan became embarrassed. To challenge the dragon god, does that mean I have to fight myself? Shunyan said that he was not interested. Chen Woody decided to give up the idea. Chen Woody said that Murong Shui came to see you 3 times. Shunyan was at a loss as to what he should do now. Murong Shui said, Shunyan's potential is enormous and his strength is fair. The ruthlessness and resourcefulness he showed when he defeated Chin Hung made you look at you differently. The girl asked if Shunyan would agree to join her team. The young man asked what the assignment was. The girl said that it would be the lowest Yuan level assignment. Yuan is in the forest of monsters. If the task is completed, you will get a reward that will make you happy. Shunyan said that the monster forest was the place for him, and he would certainly join her team. The girl said to gather in 3 days in the square at the entrance to the college. The young man decided that 3 days would be enough for him. Chen Woody said that Shunyan looks down on people and asked if the girl was curious about him. Sutra Pavilion. Shunyan thought that he had enough cultivation, but he was still using basic martial techniques. The young man decided that this time he should make a few high-level decisions that suited him in case something unexpected happened on this mission. The young man thought he needed to find a skill of ease. Shunyan studied literature one after another. His skills were improving. Shunyan decided that he could use all of this. The young man chose to bet on new machinery. If he's lucky, he'll make a lot of money. At the appointed time, they all met at the square in front of the college. Shunyan apologized for being late. The girl introduced Lin Feng, the leader of their team Snowstorm. Shunyan knew that Lin Feng was ranked third among the hidden dragons. In the star realm, he is a 3-star fighter. Lin Feng said that he had heard of Shunyan. That one had become famous recently. He was the second after Ouyang Chung Feng to possess an imperial-level talent. The team leader said that he didn't expect Shunyan to join them. It is a great honor for the whole team. Shunyan said that he was very new to the college and couldn't compare to all of them. Another participant introduced himself as Lu Chen. He is the deputy leader of Snowstorm. He said that all the team members would have their own responsibilities. The girl explained that Lu Chen is a cultivator of his body. He has 2 stars in the star world. The next contestant is named Yu Feng. He is also a 2-star fighter. The band leader said there was no time to waste. He explained that when the mission is accomplished, everyone will receive 5,000 points. He said safety should come first and everyone should be careful. As they walked away, the stranger looked after them. At dusk of the day, they approached the forest. The leader said it was too late to go into the forest and offered to spend the night at the entrance. It was decided to start the task in the morning. Lin Feng explained that their target was the Earth Dragon Egg. He specified that this dragon was one of the strongest monsters in the Star World. It has the blood of the dragon tribe in its veins. Its terrifying power is comparable to the generals of the Star World. Literu was wary. Lin Feng motioned for everyone to listen. However, the surroundings were quiet. Everyone became wary and drew their weapons. From the thicket of the forest, glittering eyes appeared. It was a black panther. She began to growl and bared her sharp claws and moved towards Shunyan. Someone yelled for him to get away if he didn't want to go to the other side of the world. The leader rushed forward right into the panther's clutches. A sharp spear flew past Shunyan. The weapon pierced the chest of the wild black cat. The panther flipped over and got to his paws. The creature prepared for another attack. Its eyes glittered in the darkness. The leader grabbed his spear. He prepared to repel another attack and called for everyone to gather. Some of the warriors said that this beast's claws are very sharp. Its chi energies won't hold back the beast. The nocturnal beast contemplated a plan of attack. But something happened, and the panther returned to the forest. Everyone was puzzled why the cat had retreated. One of the warriors said that you can't just chase away the 3-star monster of the Star World. Next time, we won't get off that easy. Shunyan thought that he didn't need help at all, but he decided not to tell anyone about it for now. The young lady told Shunyan that he should always follow her within a 2-meter radius. Shunyan confirmed that he needed women to protect. Suddenly, some kind of spear flew behind the girl's back. The point of the gun practically touched her face. The young lady turned around. The end of the spear was almost touching her eye. At the very last moment, Shunyan grabbed the spear with his bare hand. Everyone was horrified at what was happening. The girl thanked her savior. Shunyan said, "You are always welcome." The young man wondered, who could have been sneaking shots? It's not like they were hurting anyone. Someone suggested that they might have been hunters. Shunyan said that they needed to attack the monsters. Why were they shooting at them? One of the team members told Shunyan that he was very naive. These hunters can only get their hands on 1 crystal core monsters. Besides intercepting each other's hunting achievements, there are also weapons and equipment. It's much more important than hunting monsters. Shunyan said that they needed to be careful in this forest. Humans are more dangerous than monsters. The young man figured a 3-star shooter was hunting. Shunyan thought that if he didn't have the spirit of a god and the body of a demon, none of the team members would be able to stop the murder weapon. 3 warriors were talking in the clearing. One of them said that there were 4 young men and a girl. He aimed his arrow at the lady. Their target detected the arrow in time and stopped it. The target's cultivation is only at the level of a 7-star warrior, so he would be easily dealt with. One of the strangers said he shouldn't have started with the girl, that she was the 3rd best hottie in college, and that God's generous gifts should not be squandered recklessly. The third concluded that you can't think only about women, even in a forest of monsters. Sooner or later, one would die. The interlocutor replied that a girl like her couldn't just be bought. They had just used the panther to test their strength. The warrior figured they would be easy to deal with because 2 of them were 3-star fighters. The villain confirmed that the target stopped the arrow. How could a 7-star warrior do that to our arrow? The warrior replied that their target was just a warrior of the 7 stars. He wouldn't be able to defeat them even if he was strong. The blocking of their arrow was an accident. The warrior didn't release the arrow with his full strength. If he used his all-out strike, the people he shot at would die instantly. The big guy agreed with him, and he decided to meet them himself so that he could finish the task as soon as possible. His interlocutors nodded their heads affirmatively. Shunyan was walking through the forest. He followed the girl at a distance of 2 meters. At the same instant, Shunyan pulled out his blade to instantly shoot down the arrow flying past. Shunyan repelled the flying arrow with his gun. The young man shouted that someone was attacking them from the shadows. Armed villains jumped out of the forest and rushed at the travelers. A bloody battle ensued. Team Snowstorm was caught off guard, but managed to react instantly to the attack. The girl prepared to fight back. She bared her blade and prepared to fend off the arrow flying at her. Shunyan shouted for her to step aside because he wanted to deal with it himself. The young warrior shouted out the 13 swords of Lin Feng. The first sword, the wind and the sword. Every strike of the young man reached the target, and all the arrows were repelled. The girl cried out in surprise. Swordsmanship in the microcosm. I practiced it for several years, and he mastered it so quickly. Shunyan pushed the lady away and fiercely lunged at the enemy. The young warrior flew towards the villains faster than their own arrows. He leapt up and flew at them with lightning speed. The girl exclaimed, "Lin Feng, the dragon's footsteps. How strong his comprehension is. Sword technique and dexterity are all at a vivid level." One of the attackers called for help because he couldn't handle it on his own. The villain yelled that when his brother finished with this kid, they would all die. He's a 3-star fighter. The team members thought that the archer was indeed a 3-star fighter. Shunyan would have a very difficult time. The other villain decided to attack the girl. He shouted that she should not be afraid of him because he would not kill her. The third enemy shouted that he would spare lives if they obeyed him. The young lady shouted that she had no plans to give up. The powerful villain shouted that no one could stand against him. The bulky man claimed that his brother would soon come to his aid. Shunyan replied that his brother would not appear, carrying the bounty hunter's head in his hand. The thug shouted, "My brother!" One of the attackers looked at Shunyan with a look brimming with terror and fear. He unsheathed his blade and shouted, "I'm going to kill you!" He lunged at the young man. Shunyan adopted a fighting stance and prepared for the enemy's attack. The young man shouted Lin Feng's 13 swords again. The 7th type, sword flight across the mountains and river. The footsteps of a wind dragon. The warrior jumped and prepared to deliver a fatal blow to the enemy. The villain thought he had dodged and rushed past Shunyan. The opponents found themselves with their backs to each other. The enemy wheezed, "No, no!" as hot blood gushed from his throat. The breathless body of the villain collapsed to the ground. Shunyan's companions watched with their mouths open in surprise. The girl concluded that this is how 3-star fighters die from a punch. Moving towards the surviving villain, Shunyan asked who had sent them. The big man said he would not answer to the murderer of his brothers. He vowed to take revenge on his abuser. Shunyan said that he would try to guess who sent him. Shinheng or Ouyang Tianlan? The big man only bared his teeth in response. Everyone saw the attacker turn around and run away. The warriors decided to chase him down, but the leader of the group prevented him from doing so. Shunyan tiredly sat down to rest. The girl ran over and asked if he was okay. The young man was tired but replied that he was fine. It was just that he was overusing his energy. The leader claimed that everything would be fine now. The group commander looked at Shunyan interestedly and wondered who he really was. He thanked his savior and said that imminent death was following them on their heels. Shunyan to the leader that he was honored. After all, he too was a member of Team Snowstorm, and this was his contribution to the common cause. But right now he needed to rest and recover his strength. The commander said they would take care of everything themselves in the future. Shunyan was left to rest, and the leader walked away in thoughtfulness. One of the travelers cheerfully reported that he had already found the location of the underground dragon cave. The captain said it was time for them to hit the road. He asked Shunyan if he could continue the mission with them. Shunyan's reply was expected. He's fine. As a whole team, they peered out of the bushes, watching the cave. The leader said that the earth dragon likes to live alone. Dragons are together only during the mating season. When the female has babies, the male has to leave. The commander's plan was to lure the dragon out of the cave and trick it. Then someone would sneak into the nest and steal the eggs. The girl inquired as to who would go for the eggs. One of the group volunteered to do this. The leader said that his dexterity skill was weak. The commander entrusted Shunyan with this mission. His windy dragon steps had reached the micro level. He would be able to step like the wind, and it would be difficult for an earth dragon to find him. The captain gave the young man a flask and told him that it contained the power of the Lanians. He just needed to sprinkle it on his body. It would help contain the warrior's breath, and the earth dragon would never find him. Shunyan agreed and took the flask. The girl asked Shunyan if he had recovered. The young man replied that he was fine. Somewhere in the forest, a dragon was hiding. His red, fiery eyes were watching what was happening. The monster suddenly appeared from the forest thicket, and the entire team flinched. The young men grabbed their weapons and prepared to resist. The dragon roared fiercely. Upon seeing his bloodthirsty gaze, the warriors were seized with mute horror. Waking from their fright, the group took off at a run. Shunyan decided that everything was going according to plan and that they should hurry up. The young man entered the cave like the wind. Shunyan was overjoyed after discovering the earth dragon eggs in the cave. Taking one of them in his hands, the young man thought that his supreme god Kowloon body was starving. The young man cracked an egg. The young man greedily nestled into the egg and drank the contents. Shunyan concluded that it was very cool. Smiling, the young man began juggling the egg, saying he couldn't control himself. The next egg was also drunk. Shunyan heard an ominous roar coming from the forest. He realized that the earth dragon had returned. The young man grabbed a whole egg. He realized that if he got stuck in the cave, he would inevitably die. Taking the dragon eggs with him, Shunyan ran away. The young man jumped out of the cave outside and faced nose to nose with the dragon. Shunyan was covered in sweat from fear and surprise. The dragon saw the broken egg in the warrior's hands. The monster's eyes were bloodshot with rage and anger. The dragon lunged for the young man, intent on destroying him. Team Snowstorm watched from the side as the dragon chased after Shunyan. One of the warriors said that the earth dragon was chasing Shunyan like crazy. The leader divulged that this is what makes Lanian's power turn into ambergris. No dragon could resist such a temptation. The commander added that even if they had eggs, the dragon would continue to hunt Shunyan. The captain caught up with the young man and shouted for him to throw the eggs to him. Then the dragon would stop chasing him. Shunyan replied that he couldn't frame his commander. The leader said he knew a way to escape from the dragon. Shunyan decided to give one egg to the commander. The captain caught the egg that was thrown. His face lit up with a happy smile. The commander looked at the egg in his hands. It appeared to be broken. The leader decided that Shunyan had tricked him. The dragon had already opened its jaws over the commander himself. Death is imminent. Shunyan was running away and reasoned that dragon eggs are a great tonic. His body was on fire and he felt full of energy. The young man ran and thought about finding the rest of the team. Lin Feng could only wish Lin Feng good luck. Shunyan jumped out into the clearing where his friends were and said that he had brought an egg. The young man said that Lin Feng had helped him escape from the earth dragon. The young warrior stepped closer to his comrade in arms and saw a blade sticking out of his head. His other comrade in arms sat on the ground, bleeding. He started coughing, and Shunyan rushed over to him. The young man asked Lu Cheng what had happened in his absence. He replied that he had to hurry to save Murong Shui. She had been taken away by that big guy. The villain said that he would wait for Shunyan at the entrance to the monster forest. Otherwise, he will kill the girl. The young man screamed with rage. The young man said that if a single hair fell from the girl's beautiful head, the villain would die in indescribable agony, worse than both his brothers. Lu Cheng looked at Shunyan and saw his potential and hidden strength. This is a star cultivation warrior. Lu Cheng said that he didn't need to worry about him, but should save the girl. Shunyan left the egg for Lu Cheng to take care of. Shunyan rushed to meet the enemy with the speed of the wind. The warrior flew and thought that if Murong Xie got hurt, he would make the villain regret what he had done for the rest of his life. The kidnapper stood with his weapon in the clearing, and the girl with her hands bound kneeled in front of him. Murong Xue said that they are waiting in vain and Shunyan will not come. The villain was sure he'd come because he'd taken care of the girl before. The big man said that the girl was very beautiful, and Shunyan would not want to part with her. The girl was pleased that Shunyan could take care of her and come to her aid. Murong Xue thought that Shunyan's future development would be unprecedented. The young lady felt that Shunyan shouldn't come here. He still had a long way to go in life. The villain said there must be feelings between them. The young man would be upset if she died. The villain squeezed the girl hard and said the pretty girl must be even prettier in tears. The girl screamed that he wouldn't make it. The villain was determined. He saw Shunyan and prepared to meet him. The young man bared his blade and prepared to attack the rogue. The weapons of the rivals crossed in a fierce battle. The warriors moved swiftly across the clearing, striking each other. Shunyan was all incandescent with anger. The warrior didn't stop for a second and constantly struck the enemy. The big man noted that Shunyan's sword technique was excellent. The villain said it was not enough because the young man did not possess Reiki. The girl shouted for the young man to run away as he could not cope alone. The villain shouted that no one would get away from him today. Shunyan said that his brothers were weak. They deserved their demise. The bully shouted that he was going to get his assailant. The young man pointed his weapon directly at the villain. He tried to deflect the throw. Shunyan resolutely intercepted his enemy's weapon. The thugs screamed in surprise and pain. Shunyan delivered a decisive blow to the enemy's chest. The villain flew far away. The warrior's fist of fury glowed, and he held his enemy's weapon in his other hand. The thug was surprised that Shunyan had physical cultivation. Shunyan agreed and said that his physical cultivation strength far surpassed his spiritual cultivation, and added that his presence proves it. Shunyan said that he would give him one last chance. He must confess who told him to attack them, and then he'll give him a happy death. The villain laughed loudly in response. He said that Shunyan might not even dream about it. The young man struck the villain with his hand in the forehead in a rage. The blow was so strong that the thug's mouth, ears, and eyes bled. Shunyan went to the girl, and the breathless body of the villain was left lying on the grass. The young lady looked at Shunyan and wondered where he got such strength from. The young man, freeing the girl from the ropes, asked if she was all right. She answered in the affirmative. Shunyan said that he had physical cultivation. He asked that the girl keep it a secret because this fact was important for his safety. The girl was amazed at how one could achieve such physical cultivation. Even the 4 stars of the star world were not opponents for a young man. The young man added that he wasn't really that strong. The reason he was able to deal with the villain was because he was very angry. Shunyan said that Lu Chung was seriously injured and needed to be helped soon. The girl listened to her savior, holding her breath. Then the unexpected happened. The young man noticed that the sharp blade was flying straight at the girl. He shouted for her to be careful. But it was too late. The point of the blade plunged straight into the beauty's chest. Shunyan's face was splattered with Murong Shua's blood. The young man picked up the falling girl under his arms and screamed loudly in terror. Tears flowed from his eyes. He couldn't understand why this was happening. The girl whispered out of her last strength that Shunyan had saved her, but she couldn't watch him get killed. The young man says it's so cute, but he didn't expect the bastard to be attractive to girls. He asked permission for a pretty girl to die for him. Shunyan realized that it was all Ouyang Tianlan's fault. He shouted that name loudly. The girl lay in his arms with the blade sticking out of her chest, breathing heavily and coughing up blood. The young man shouted that Murong Shua shouldn't die. He saved her life a year ago. She owes him. The girl struggled to utter the fact that she was glad to see them. God loves her. It was hard for her to speak. Murong Shui looked at the sobbing young man and confessed her eternal love to him. She handed him the pendant, said she was returning it. Shunyan took the pendant from her hands. It was a pendant made by his mother. The young man said it was all very tragic and touching. He said, "Soon you will join her in hell, where you can fulfill your roles as a couple of ill-fated lovers." Shunyan gently lowered the beauty onto the grass. He hid the pendant that Murong Shui had returned to him a while ago deep in his sinus. The eyes, full of tears, of the grief-stricken young man broadcast hatred. Shunyan rushed towards the villains with a tremendous desire to destroy them. The old man easily dodged the young man's attacker and punched him in the chest. The old man's next blow hit the young man in the face. Blood gushed from his mouth. The old man violently felled him and pinned him to the ground with his hand. Ouyang Tianlan laughingly asked if Shunyan wanted to get even with him. He advised the young man to surrender. Tianlan said his third grandfather was a star warrior. You can't be his opponent. Today is the last day of your life. Shunyan, lying on the ground and bleeding, decided that the opponent wouldn't succeed. With a furious shout, our hero abruptly jumped up and proclaimed that he would massacre Ouyang Tianlan. The enemy told his girlfriend not to spare the young man and to deal with him now, and added that his family was not like this abandoned son provocateur. The old man's hand glowed like fire, and he said that his fiery palm could make his opponent savor the pain before he died. But suddenly, the old man cried out in surprise. He saw the young man's body surge upwards and began to emit a powerful charge of energy. Shunyan's eyes radiated hatred, and hellfire overflowed from them. The young warrior's face twisted with anger and a desire to avenge himself and the girl. The guy with a thirst for revenge and malice in his eyes lunged at his opponents. With a powerful blow, the young warrior drove his fist into the old man's chest. Shunyan grabbed the old man's leg in flight and began to spin him around like a stick. The young man threw the old man against the ground with all his strength. The enraged warrior mercilessly beat the old man's chest, stomach, and face with his feet. Shunyan was striking murderous blows on the old man's body more and more fiercely. The unfortunate old man could not resist the young man's blows and lay motionless on the grass. Shunyan shifted his anger to Tianlin. The young man's eyes exuded hatred. Ouyang Tianlin was horrified by his grandfather's death. The terrified young man begged for mercy. He said that if Shunyan still killed him, the family of the deceased would never let him go. The opponents stood face to face. The eyes of one were brimming with fear, while the eyes of the other burned with hatred. The enraged Shunyan grabbed his opponent by the throat. He begged for mercy. In the blink of an eye, blood spurted from Ouyang Tianlin's throat. The young warrior left his foe and he fell to the ground. Shunyan looked at his hands in horror and didn't understand what was happening to him. The young man saw a glowing old woman approach Murong Shi, who was lying on the ground. He thought it was an evil spirit entering her body. Shunyan asked the old woman what she was going to do. She told the young man not to interfere with her, or the girl's death would be imminent. The old woman lifted Murong's body in front of her. Shunyan said with hope in his voice, "So she can still be saved?" Reciting sorcerous incantations, the old woman removed the blade from the girl's chest. The healer said that she had protected the girl's heart with Reiki, and at the moment, the beauty's life was not threatened. But the old woman's Reiki cannot be placed in the girl's body. This kind of fatal injury must be treated with healing remedies after returning to the sect with the injured girl. The old woman added that Murong Shi was an innately cold yin body. If she enters the Reiki sect, she will definitely become the pride of a generation. But if she stays here, her talent will be wasted. The young man asked with great desperation in his voice if the old woman really wanted to take her away. The healer replied that the other option was to remove the Reiki and leave the dead body here. The old woman said that she was only socializing with the young man because the girl today almost died because of him. To him, she advised him to forget Murong Shi. Once the girl enters the Tian Zong Gate, they would become people from two different worlds. Murong Shi's future achievements are far from what the young man can even imagine. It is not their destiny to be together. The old woman was rising from the ground, dragging the girl's body behind her. The young man, seeing them off with a glance, thought that this old lady was on the level of a feudal lord. Shunyan shouted to the departing grandmother that his talent was imperial-level strength. He wanted to know if they were still accepting Tianzang Zong disciples. The boy sadly thought about the fact that Murong Shi had just confessed her love to him, but they had to part ways. The old woman replied that Tianzang Zong does not accept men as disciples. The young man sadly looked at those who were flying away. Shunyan firmly resolved to track down the girl in the future and take her back. The members of Team Snowstorm saw Shunyan in the clearing, grief-stricken and lying in a pool of blood of a defeated enemy. Everyone was terribly upset by the news of Murong Shi's death. Team leader Snowstorm said that it was necessary to inform his supervisor about Ouyang Tianlin's death. The college should not be held responsible for it. In his defense, Shunyan said he didn't kill them. The outside experts appeared. The young warrior said that he would explain all the details of the incident to the college, but it was not the concern of those present. Shunyan returned to the college and put the blame for the death of Ouyang Tianlin and his grandfather, as well as the disappearance of Murong Shi, on the old woman from Tianzang Zong. But someone in the Ouyang family knew that Tianlin had gone to the monster forest to destroy Shunyan. Shunyan was cleared of suspicion, but he was not allowed to leave the college campus at the request of Ouyang family members. Shunyan knew that he was practicing peace and stability, but what could he do when his strength was at its highest? And why can't the Red Sea Lotus gather Junqi? Shunyan, sitting on the ground, meditated and pondered as this jade pendant entered his dantian. The young man heard someone's voice saying, "Can't you understand this skill?" The young man was startled by surprise and asked who was speaking to him. He decided it was a hallucination due to long training and meditation. The voice rang out again and said that Shunyan didn't even ask where she was, and she doesn't understand how this black jade pendant could choose a young man as her master. Shunyan was surprised. Was the jade stone really talking to him? In response, he is heard saying, You yourself are a jade pendant, and your whole family are jade pendants, and I myself am the supreme goddess. A fiery stranger appeared before the young man. She introduced herself as Yetian. The young man is allowed to call her Milady Yetian. Yetian said that she didn't come here for Shunyan to release her. Since he had become the owner of the Black Jade God pendant, from today onwards, she would guide him in practicing until he had enough strength to assemble a new body for her and help her return to Earth. Shunyan was surprised at the fact that she would guide him in practice. Yetian told him not to get too excited about this news. Her leadership would not be simple and easy for him. If he can't complete tasks on time, he will realize and learn that death is a gift. The girl explained that it was possible to start the class right away. Yetian controlled the young warrior while he learned to wield his blade even better. A month later, a stranger knocked on Shunyan's house. The master opened the door. Chung Woody stood in front of him. Shunyan asked if there was a new beauty on the talent list. Chung Woody explained that the matter was more serious than the girls. It turned out that the younger students of the spiritual academy were being bullied, and they needed Shunyan's help. Chung Woody claimed that it was about a dragon god. Shunyan wondered, some kind of dragon god. Chung Woody added that this was a dragon god in the arena. He had already defeated a dozen 9-star fighters with his junior 9-star strength. Shunyan thought that he really is the dragon god. Someone at the spiritual academy is faking it. The young man remembered that many people at the Physical Education Institute used to hate this code name. Now someone had gotten bolder and pretended to be a dragon god. Shunyan said that other 1-star seniors are also looking for him. Chung Woody added that the abuser is cunning and ruthless. Chung Woody said that if a middle-level high school student wants to challenge him, he should enter the battle arena. In other places, he does not accept the challenge of high school students. Shunyan thought that it was too obvious that he wanted to create hatred towards him and was provoking him intentionally. Continuing their conversation, the young men approached the arena. Chung Woody said that this dragon god promised to change his name to Insect God if Shunyan appeared. The young man replied that he would go to meet the dragon god in person. The guys heard someone shouting to the younger disciples of the spiritual court that they were trash. The man standing in the arena said that they all have 9 stars. It wasn't clear why there was such a big difference in strength between them. He once again added that all the junior disciples were nothing but a bunch of trash. The onlookers urged him to be calm. When the first genius among the younger disciples of their spiritual court appeared, he would perish. Another spectator confirmed that Shunyan will soon appear in the arena. He is the one who is the number 1 among all the junior disciples. The stranger said that he is waiting for Shunyan impatiently and wants to see if he will be called number 1 in front of the stranger's face. Shunyan stood in the crowd and listened to the stranger challenge him to a fight and call him a turtle. A young man stepping out of the crowd and pointing at the stranger asked if it was indeed the dragon god. The upstart said that he was a very talented person with superior strength and good looks, and that Shunyan doesn't even dare to challenge him to a fight. The stranger warned that if he lost, Shunyan would have to call him grandfather 3 times, and the stranger himself would not beat him with all his might in front of his spiritual disciples. Shunyan, on the other hand, remarked that he couldn't control himself and couldn't stop when he was beating his opponent. The bully suggested that the young warrior be the first to start the fight. He wanted to see at once how pathetic his attempts at fighting would be. Shunyan warned that the opponent himself had asked for what would happen. The young man flew up to his opponent with lightning speed and deftly slapped him. The blow was of such force that it cost a great effort for the opponent to stay on his feet. The next blow came on the other cheek. Shunyan grabbed the stranger by the throat and asked if he was a dragon god. The enemy didn't know what to say to that. The young man asked the question once more. In response, falling to his knees, the rival turned to his older brother, saying he was a fake and admitting his mistake. The beaten warrior asked for mercy and said he was truly remorseful for what he had done. Chung Woody suggested that the stranger memorize Shunyan's strength. Everyone in the crowd began to rebuke Shunyan. They said he was a murderer and did bad things to his rivals. A young man emerged from the crowd and headed straight towards Shunyan. Everyone knew that it was Ouyang Chung Feng. There was some discussion in the crowd about his place on the number 10 discipline list. There was also talk that Chen Fen had come to avenge his younger brother, and that something terrible and very bloody was about to happen. Someone in the crowd claimed it wasn't true, and that the younger brother had been killed by mysterious people. It was said that Shunyan was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Chung Woody recognized the speaker. It was a girl who was a fan of Shunyan's brother. Lady Yetian said that her ward was in danger. The life-threatening Shunyan had reached the pinnacle of the 8 stars of the star world, and his strength is far more powerful than the young man's. Real fear and consternation appeared in the young warrior's eyes. The top of the 9 stars is the highest level of Qinling College. Once a student overcomes the situation of Yin Yue and Changzong, it means that he has graduated from the college. Chen asked Shunyan if it was really him. The young man confirmed this information. Chen immediately rushed at him with his fists. He attacked Shunyan and knocked him to the ground. The young man screamed in savage pain, and scarlet blood spurted from his mouth. Chengwudi rushed to his friend's aid. Ouyang Chengfeng said that he would teach the young man a lesson today, but he won't destroy him because he respects the rules of the college. And he added that in 3 months' time, there would be an epic battle, not for life, but for death in the arena. Shunyan should take the initiative to come. Otherwise, Chenfeng promised to beat the young man regularly and eventually slowly destroy him. Shunyan, wiping his bloody lips, confirmed that he would arrive on time. Ouyang Chengfeng advised him to be brave and enjoy a full and happy life for 3 months, and then the real and inevitable doom would await him. Everyone remarked that Shunyan had a major bad luck. It will be an unequal fight. It's more like killing. Chengwudi helped his friend up and decided to escort him home. He also asked if Shunyan would be going out to duel in 3 months. The young man replied that he saw no other way out and would definitely accept the challenge. The Ouyang family had no plans to let him go at all, ever. Shunyan in turn shared his friend's plans to visit the monster forest again soon. Chengwudi offered to accompany him on this dangerous journey, but the young warrior refused to help and was going to do it alone. Chengwudi silently accepted the answer and did not argue with his friend. He also offered Shunyan the fire essence that he himself was going to use when he would make a breakthrough through the star world. Shunyan also refused the elixir because it was too expensive a gift. But Chengwudi continued to insist. The friend reminded Shunyan that time was running out and one should make it through as soon as possible. Walking away, Chengwudi advised his friend to recover and decided not to disturb him anytime soon. Lady Yetian pointed out to Shunyan that his friend was not so simple. It seemed like Woody had a lot of secrets. The ward replied that it didn't matter because his friend treated him well. Shunyan noted that he also kept many secrets. The young warrior swallowed the pill he took out from the vial Chengwudi had given him. The young man felt something going on inside him. Shunyan decided that this fire elixir really wasn't ordinary. Just one pill helped him reach the peak of the 9 stars, and his mentor advised him to eat the remaining 2 pills to break through the star world. Shunyan agreed and swallowed the remaining contents of the vial. A tremendous pain pierced his stomach at the same moment. He thought he had overdosed. Lady Yetian advised him to calm down. Shunyan rolled his eyes and began to shake. The entire space around him shook and he thought he was about to explode. It was the truest breakthrough of the star world. The mentor said that the magical effect of this skill was that the young man absorbed all the aura entering his body. She asked if his meridians had changed now and how much. The boy, squirming in unbearable pain, replied that the meridians were getting thicker and larger. Shunyan smilingly came to the conclusion that if he still had more fire elixir, it wouldn't take 3 months for him to break through. A satisfied Shunyan realized that he would be able to deal with Chenfeng with almost no problem. Lady Yetian said that Ouyang would soon break through to the 9 stars. However, his abilities are not good enough compared to Shunyan. At the same time, Shunyan's combat skills are much worse. The young warrior agreed that his 13-sword Lin Feng was only a yellow-level martial skill. The mentor told her that her martial skills were too high for Shunyan to practice. She suggested that they choose some college, and then they would go to the monster forest. A day later, the disciple and mentor were in the monster forest. Shunyan noted that Lady Yetian was extremely good. She could change the Zoan-level sword technique to ground level. The lady exclaimed that they had been ambushed. The strangers surrounded the young man and said that he was breaking the rules of the clan. The patriarch instructed them to kill Shunyan. The young warrior wondered what was the rule violation on his part. After all, he was no longer a member of the Qin family. The attackers specified that the young man had offended the Ouyang family. They threatened to cut off Shunyan's head and send it to the Ouyang family to rectify the situation. Shunyan disagreed with making amends with his head. The young man believed that only he could dispose of his head. The assailants were deciding which one of them would administer justice. They decided they would break the young man's legs first. One of the attackers decided to tell the young man how his mother was doing. Shunyan became wary. Had something happened to Mom? The villain said that after the young man hurt Chin Hong, he came home and hit his mother with a whip. Now she has to wash her clothes every day, and it is very unfortunate. Shunyan shouted his brother's name with hatred. Another villain promised to give the young man's head to the Ouyang family and his body to his mother. It would be a mother-son reunion. The young man didn't want to listen to anything else and exposed his blade. The enemy didn't even feel the blade sliding down his throat. Shunyan was ruthless and blood whipped everywhere. When the guy jumped aside, everyone noticed that their comrade in arms was lying motionless. Shunyan quickly dealt with Qinlei. The remaining villains were screaming that they couldn't let the guy go alive. Everyone rushed in pursuit of the fleeing Shunyan. The young man was running faster than the wind, and my lady was prompting him to move northeast. The mentor warned that there would be a waterfall ahead. The guy slowed down and was confused by what he saw. A long-haired girl was bathing in the lake by the waterfall. She was naked and beautiful. The green-eyed stranger did not notice the young man and continued to splash in the clear water. The guy was secretly watching the bather with his mouth open in amazement. Shunyan asked my lady if she had sent him here for nothing. Milady asked if Shunyan could see the girl's clothes on the stone. Yetian told the guy to steal the clothes. But he must remember that this girl's cultivation, this is the Silver Moon 3 Stars War Clan. If she discovers him, no one will be able to save him. Shunyan was sneaking for clothes and couldn't believe that he was committing such a dirty deed. Milady reminded him that this was a good chance for him to improve his cultivation. The girl flinched and asked who was here. The young man had already reached out for his clothes. The blonde saw him and flashed lightning in anger. Before Shunyan could reach for his clothes, he was blown away by the wind. The girl used her skill to toss the guy high above the lake. Shunyan collapsed into the water and began to sink to the bottom. In desperation, he began to cling to something with his hands. It was the naked legs of a young bather. The girl, either out of anger or embarrassment, screamed loudly. She drove her foot right into Shunyan's jaw. Now the guy is out of the water with tremendous force. The young man landed on a rock right next to the girl's clothes. He was all at a loss for what he had seen and what had happened. Shunyan grabbed his clothes and rushed to run away, thinking that she would kill him if she caught up to him. After 4 hours of continuous running, the young man decided to take a break. The young man was very afraid that the naked blonde would catch up with him. My lady said it was very exciting. The guy said he should definitely take a break from the chase. He added that his body was very sore from being kicked out. My lady Yetian told Shunyan not to do anything stupid. He's not in the best situation right now. That girl, if she finds him, will destroy him. He can't let her see him. The young man asked why he had to steal those clothes. Milady offered to examine her belt pouch. Shunyan saw that it was a bag of universe. Yetian said it's a treasure bag. It has a large space, and you can store living things and herbs. The boy looked into the bag with one eye and saw many herbs. The young man pulled a flask out of the pouch and marveled at it. There was jade dragon brain, dragon blood. Without thinking long, Shunyan drank the contents of the vial. Immediately, his entire body began to transform. It was a double breakthrough of the star world. Breakthrough. 3 stars, 4 stars. A powerful force appeared in his hands. Shunyan thought that he now had his own fist of rage. Milady said that the gasification of the dragon was happening. She didn't expect his higher Julong body to have such marvelous effects. This is the lowest level of blood dragon chi. If he obtains the chi of a true ancient dragon in the future, he will become even stronger. Shunyan realized that the people Qin Shan had brought were not his opponents. He would be able to easily deal with them. He knew that there was still a long way to go to Ouyang Chongfeng's level, but there was still plenty of time before the fight. The warrior realized that he had alarmed the real monsters. A giant bird tried to attack our hero. Shunyan used his newly acquired skill and punched the bird right into its clawed paw. The overgrown bird just flew off to the side. Shunyan didn't understand what could be special about this giant eagle. My lady explained that this was no ordinary eagle. It has the blood of an ancient golden eagle flowing in it. The golden eagle is a beast that feeds on dragons. It is attracted to the young man's dragon breath. Yetian said there was a royal ring of beasts in the bag. We should tame this eagle. It will be more convenient to move around with it. Shunyan thought about the blonde girl whose bag contains so many useful things. The eagle turned around in the air and tried to attack the young man once more. Yetian told the boy to try to get on the bird's back. Shunyan struggled to get away from the monster bird attacking him. The boy noticed that the eagle had very powerful wings. The bird turned around and went at the young man in a dive. Shunyan dodged from under its beak and powerfully jumped up. The bird was taken aback by the surprise. That instant was enough time for the lad to get on the eagle's back. The eagle soared into the sky with a cry. Shunyan took out a ring from his bag and used it to try to tame the feathered thing. The bird obeyed as if hypnotized. Shunyan realized that he had succeeded. Shunyan was soaring high in the clouds with the bird and wanted it to recognize him as its master. He asked the eagle what his name was. The eagle said it had no name. The young man decided to name him Xiao Yu. The eagle didn't mind, but he said he was very hungry and needed a refreshment right away. Shunyan said for Xiao Yu to go higher. Now they would hunt. Shunyan did not yet know how to behave in such cases. The hungry eagle easily swallowed like a worm a huge python. Afterwards, Shunyan and Xiao Yu enjoyed eating the game caught on the hunt. A month later, the guy and the bird in the air were as one. The young man didn't even expect that the blood and flesh of monsters could have such an effect. Gods and demons purify the body. Spiritual cultivation is 3 stars in the star world. However, there are few people who can engage in such a long hunt with a beast. Shunyan thought that he was very lucky. Once flying over the forest, they noticed some flashes in the woods. The young man realized it was someone fighting. Guy commanded the bird to get them down. Jumping on the ground, the young man said Xiao Yu somewhere to hide. Our hero decided to sneak up unnoticed, get his bearings, and capitalize on the situation. He heard an animal roar. Shunyan was astonished. There was a warrior-level beast there. The young man decided to assess the situation first. He thought that if he failed, he could run away. It was a unicorn lion. A beautiful stranger fluttered in front of him. The Lion King lay tired on the ground, his eyes glittering. There were many wounds on his body. The beast grinned and showed huge, sharp teeth. Shunyan had no way of understanding what kind of girl with a blade in her hands was hovering in front of the terrifying beast. The stranger reeked of princess-level power. Yetian said the young man's eyes were about to pop out of his orbits if he stared at the stranger like that. My lady said it was a simple person, just the level of a princess. She was still no match for my lady. The mentor suggested that the young man look at her beauty. Shunyan agreed that people can't match my lady's beauty. He was still so young, and this was the first time he had seen strength on the level of a princess. My lady, coming provocatively close to Shunyan, whispered that there was something special about this woman, unexpected to the young man. Shunyan felt a blush appear on his face, and his cheeks began to burn. The princess approached the lion and told him to give up the gold of the red flame, or she would destroy him. Shunyan exclaimed, "Red flame gold, a priceless treasure." The princess said menacingly, "Since the lion won't give up the red flame gold, she will take it herself." The girl drew her blade forward and prepared to attack. Shunyan tensed up and became frightened. The lion roared furiously and flames burst out of his mouth. The flames increased in size and the lion became like a flamethrower lion. The stranger, with her blade drawn forward, fearlessly lunged straight into those flames. She came closer and closer to the unicorn. The unicorn's eyes glowed fiercely. The princess swung her sword and prepared to strike. The blade went through the animal's chest to the hilt. The beast roared in pain. Blood gushed from its wound. The defeated animal slumped to the ground. The princess said she would take the red flame gold and leave. Suddenly, the beast opened its eyes and roared furiously. A horn flew from his forehead like a harpoon and aimed straight at the princess. At the last moment, she looked back and saw the dangerous implement in front of her. The girl tried to fend off that harpoon with her maple, but it was too late. The horn pierced her body easily. Shunyan, watching this action, thought that the Lion King was really tough. He would rather die than surrender. The princess put in a lot of effort and pulled the horn out of her chest. The girl was already losing consciousness. Crimson blood was oozing from her chest. Exhausted, she fell to the ground. Shunyan watched what was happening and couldn't understand how this all happened. My lady said the horn was poisonous. The flaming lion poured out a strong fire of life essence. Shunyan rushed to the princess lying there and said that her life was in danger. Poison is not to be trifled with. My lady Yetian said she must detoxify immediately or she will burn alive in a few hours. We can't leave her here either. The body of a flaming lion will attract other monsters, and she'll be buried in the monster's belly. We need to get the red fire gold and the body of the flaming Lion King immediately. Then take the U2 woman and leave. The young man rubbed his hands together in pleasure. Luck was clearly on his side today. Shunyan loaded the princess onto the eagle, and they quickly flew away from that place. On the flight, the stranger came to her senses and said that her chest felt very hot. The young man thought it must be from the poison. The young man shrieked in surprise. The girl woke up and started hugging the young man. The boy couldn't understand what was wrong with her, Milady explained to him. She said he was very lucky in this case. The stranger's particular physique had turned the fire poison into lust poison, and she would soon die if he didn't detoxify her. The young man tried to stop the girl, calling her big sister. She considered her behavior as a consequence of air shock. The young man knew he had to act urgently. He ordered Yahello to find a cave as soon as possible and land there. The guy held the girl's hands tightly, the girl angrily demanding that he let her go. The princess threateningly warned that if Xunyan tried to stop her, she would destroy him. The young man's eyes rounded at what he heard. He said he was very afraid that's exactly what the girl would say. The princess whispered languorously that she wanted him. The girl hugged the guy tightly and gave him a wonderful kiss. The one thought he didn't want to have a good time and die. Xunyan still resisted, knowing that life was more important. The girl didn't listen to him and continued to kiss his ear. Milady, looking at all this, said that since the young man lacked courage, she would help him. And now Xunyan loosened up and decided to reciprocate the girl. Their bodies intertwined in a hot embrace. Time lost its meaning. Xunyan plopped the eager stranger on the ground and began to tear off her clothes. Night has fallen. The full moon rose. 4 hours passed. The young man began to come to his senses after losing his head in the arms of a passionate girl. The girl apparently came back to reality as well. Half naked, she grabbed her blade and placed it on the young man's shoulder. The guy smiled apprehensively and said he didn't mean to, but he was certainly willing to take responsibility. Xunyan didn't know what else to say in such cases. The princess asked, "What kind of responsibility could we be talking about?" She wants him to just disappear. The naked guy was on his knees and the angry girl with a blade in her hand was ready to cut off his head. Xunyan realized that these might be his last moments, and something had to be done if he wanted to survive. The stranger calmed down and said that she would pardon him as a reward for saving her, but that he should keep his mouth shut after what had happened. Otherwise, she would find him and punish him. That naughty boy. Xunyan said that he was very sorry, but his eyes didn't show much remorse. The guy had no choice but to call his transportation and fly away, leaving the stranger alone in the forest clearing. And then the girl saw the gold of a red flame on a stone nearby. The princess thought she had paid too much for that gold. Xunyan flew and pondered what had happened to him in the past 24 hours. I asked the mentor what he was unhappy about. Have him look at his loins. Xunyan realized that he had become a 6-star fighter, while just yesterday he was a 3-star fighter. How did that happen? Milady advised him to take the undeserved reward as due. That girl has a yin physique, which is very suitable for cultivating both yin and yang, and it's good for both of them. After that, his achievements would improve and he could repay her naturally. Xunyan was thinking about something of his own, listening to his mentor half an ear. Xunyan decided that there was a chance to see Leng Yanran again. A month later, the young man was already standing on the head of the defeated monster. The young man thought that a few months ago, a land dragon with the same strength could have crushed him. Now he can't stand them. Yahello ate the Lion King and fell asleep. It was a pity that the dragon couldn't make the best use of its power. The young man decided to go to college, but to pass on to finish some things. Xunyan realized that those guys didn't have their assignment completed. It was possible that they were still waiting for the young man. Those attackers were actually sitting in the forest, waiting for the young warrior. They were upset that the boy had escaped. As long as he didn't get eaten by monsters, Xunyan should be coming out to duel with Ouyang Chung Feng soon. One of the mercenaries thought that if the guy was eaten by monsters, he was lucky. Otherwise, he'd catch him and destroy him. Just then, Xunyan suddenly appeared and suggested that they deal with him since they were so brave. The mercenaries shouted that this time they would not let this boy escape them. The villains decided that the young man was clearly fed up with life. Xunyan called, and guard dogs that faithfully wait for their master. The guy announced that he was about to send them all to the underworld. He ran at the villains with lightning speed. The young warrior's blade left bloody wounds in their bodies before they could even move. In the blink of an eye, only one of the 4 mercenaries was left alive. He stood before the young man in fear. The villain asked, how does Xunyan manage to be so strong and agile? But then the surviving mercenary shouted that he was going to kill the young man and rushed at him. Xunyan decided that the latter was being overconfident. The young warrior used Ling Feng's sword method, wind chanting, and decided not to be rude to his opponent any longer. In a second, he was already on his knees, bleeding from multiple wounds. The mercenary could not understand why Xunyan was able to defeat him, an 8-star fighter. The guy replied that nothing is impossible. He said that he was letting his attacker go. Let him come back and tell the Chin family that if his mother was hurt, he would come and destroy everyone in that family. Our hero went off on his own, leaving his bloody opponent alone in the woods. Shunyan was in a good mood. He was returning to the academy to meet with Ouyang Chengfeng. The boy looked up and stopped on the road in surprise. In front of him, holding her arms out to the side, stood a spectacular blonde. The young man confusedly said that it was a big coincidence. The green-eyed blonde girl extended her blade towards Shunyan, shouting that he was a lecher, a thug, and a shameless guy. And this was his last day today. Shunyan tried to explain everything. It wasn't what she thought. The boy bowed his head to the girl and held out the pouch he had stolen from her. He admitted that he had only used the power of the Jade Dragon and the animal control ring. He hadn't touched anything else. Taking the baggie, the girl accused him of using her things, peeking at her swimming and touching her underwater. The blonde rushed after the guy in a rage, calling him a rapist. He barely managed to get his feet away, apologizing as he ran. The girl waved her blade furiously, and the guy screamed that he had made a fatal mistake. Shunyan shouted that he needed to stay alive now so that he could repay the girl in the future. The blonde screamed that since he had peeped on her, touched her, and bathed with her, there was no forgiveness for him, and only his demise would wash away the shame. Shunyan took out the ring that he hadn't put back in the pouch and began to call out to the bird for help. He wanted Xiaoyu to fly to his aid. It didn't take long for the bird to arrive. Xiaoyu, 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 Xiaoyu printed the young lady to the ground with his claws. The young man climbed the bird, and the girl, pinned to the ground, thought it was a silver moon-level monster. The guy warned, sitting upstairs, that he didn't fight back because he felt guilty about it, not because he was afraid of it. Flying away, the young man shouted that when he got something good, he would surely come back to give her the push, and he advised against looking for him. He's stronger anyway. The girl only continued to send curses in his direction. The interlocutor said that Lord Ouyang and his family are simply geniuses. Soon, young Ouyang will graduate from college and join the Zhang family, and will take a firm stance. Ouyang Tian, the leader of the family, said that his son is very lucky and talented. Today, his son will massacre the accomplice of his brother's death. This will temporarily comfort the heavenly spirit of his younger son. Lord Ouyang's interlocutor, Qin Yuanshan, Shunyan's father, said that he didn't discipline his son in time. He is willing to catch the boy and bring him here. Ouyang refused because it might hit Chengfeng's reputation. Chengfeng can't afford to lose this fight. Qin Yuanshan once again confirmed his guilt. Ouyang said that after the fight, they would not hold the winner responsible for the death of his opponent. The interlocutor agreed with this. That's what the interlocutors agreed on. The dean of Chenhong University told Lord Qin that he had heard that Shunyan had been expelled from the family and had his powers taken away. Was this true? Qin said that his son had broken the clan rules and was expelled from the family for it. The dean asked, then why would Lord Qin fight the young man if he had already banished him? The dean thought this was unreasonable and very foolish. The Lulis gathered in front of the arena to watch the bouts. They wondered how a junior apprentice could be Ouyang's rival. Lin Shifan said, "This is very interesting. A junior student challenges a senior student. Ouyang Chenfeng is ranked 10th on the list of green dragons." Yu Fei replied that Chenfeng was actually a weak warrior. He wouldn't even be able to withstand 3 of his blows. Lin Shifeng countered that Chenfeng was only 20 years old and had great potential. The girl named Yun Lan said that she was more interested in Shunyan. This is the first time in the history of the college that a junior student is challenging a Qingling ranking master. The crowd shouted that Ouyang Chengfeng was coming. Everyone commented that he is handsome and walks into the arena with dignity. Everyone realized that Shunyan would lose. It was impossible for a 7-star warrior to defeat a 9-star fighter after 3 months of training. The girl said that Shunyan wasn't easy and he could still surprise everyone. Everyone saw Shunyan and was surprised that he had come here. They thought he must have come to die. Chenfeng told Shunyan that he thought that he was too scared to come here. The young man said that he couldn't help but come here. Ouyang's family is waiting for him. The young man added that unlike Thailand, he didn't deserve to be killed by dirty mercenaries. Chenfen said the young man was trying to be brave before he died. It would have been better if he had just kept quiet. Chenfen pounced on his opponent and said he would ruin him. The young men clashed in a fierce fight. Shunyan fended off his opponent's arm and delivered a vicious punch to his jaw. The fight was very hard. No one wanted to give in, and the blows fell furiously on the opponents. Shunyan swung around and struck his opponent very hard. Chung Feng didn't expect such a thing. Chen Feng wondered, was this really an 8-star warrior? Our hero stood victoriously before his opponent. Chen Feng thought it was completely impossible. The onlookers watched with interest. Just 3 months ago, Shunyan was still a 7-star warrior. It was amazing that such a breakthrough had happened in just 3 months. Lin Shifeng was thoughtful as he watched the battle. Lord Ouyang didn't expect such a development. His son was unable to deal with his opponent the first time. Ouyang decided that Shunyan must die, or else the Qin family would be in big trouble. Shunyan said that it was now his turn to attack. He threw a very hard punch right to his opponent's head. From such a blow, Chen Feng shrank back. It was impossible to resist, and the opponent flew far to the side. The opponent said he underestimated his enemy. But it's a good thing killing a weakling is no fun. Chen Feng said he would show real strength now. He grabbed his weapon. Chen Feng asked if the young man would be able to catch him now. Shunyan decided to try his recently practiced body magic. If Chen Feng could wound him, he would sheath his sword. Chen Feng was surprised at what his opponent could do. Chen Fen added that he should definitely straighten out his opponent tonight. Chen Fen pounced on the young warrior with his weapon and said it was his last day. The battle was fierce, and no one could win, and everyone wanted to deal with their enemy faster. Shunyan decided to use the wind control of 13 swords. He prepared to attack. The young warrior used the third sword technique, explosive wind. He left no chance for his opponent. Chen Fen lost control of his weapon and it flew off to the side. Elder Qin was surprised that one could use Ling Feng's 13 swords to display the power of a mid-level mysterious yellow ball. It was amazing how the young man used his fingers. The girl asked her interlocutor if he could wield his sword as well. The interlocutor replied that he could wield his sword, but he could not wield his fingers. Chen Feng wondered how his finger could be so powerful. The warrior said he underestimated his enemy. Now he wants to show his strength and really see a real opponent. Said it would be a battle to the finish. Only one warrior would survive. Grabbed his weapon and prepared for a deadly attack. The rivals' weapons were pointed toward each other. Chen Feng started to attack, but the young hero was able to fend off his attack. The battle continued with fierce intensity. The strength was leaving the opponents, but no one wanted to give up. The fierce fighting did not stop for a minute. There was fear and incomprehension in Chen Feng's eyes as to how his opponent had so much strength. Shunyan's deadly sword was very close to his opponent's head. Chen Feng also made a dangerous maneuver with his spear. The enemy's spear lightly scratched our hero's face. Chen Feng also had a small scratch on his face. Ouyang thought that the young man was difficult to deal with this time. Shunyan realized that Chung Feng wouldn't be able to handle him today. Chung Feng decided to apply the top-level Zhuan martial skill, Purple Dragon Victory. His opponent had also prepared something from home. The younger warrior was the first to go on the attack. The older students of the college who were watching the fight with interest noted that no matter how good Shunyan's intelligence and talent was, he still couldn't win this fight. Ling Feng's 13 swords are just as good as Xuan's mid-level martial skills. In the arena, the heat of passion only increased. Our hero had such tension that the ground beneath his feet was crumbling. Chiefin has lost hope of winning. He ended up on the ground and began begging for mercy. His legs were no longer obeying him from fatigue. Lord Ouyang cried out in terror. Lord Qin cried out in surprise. All the spectators opened their mouths in surprise. Lord Ouyang jumped into the arena directly to his injured son. He couldn't let the heir die. The old man lifted the bleeding young man up. Ouyang Sr.'s eyes filled with vengeance, and he shouted that he was about to massacre Shunyan. The old man uttered very dangerous words to activate his techniques. Yin Yue Zhan Zong Ouyang Tian. Shunyan stood with his blade, dumbfounded by what was happening. The rector of the college rushed to cut Lord Ouyang off. But it was too late. Shunyan found himself on the ground. The impact was so strong that the young man made a hole. The guy was coughing heavily, lying at the bottom of this pit. It was very difficult for him to lift himself up. The senior warriors were very surprised to see the Silver Moon's angry attack. It was hard to believe it. The provost grabbed Ouyang's arm and shouted that in the arena of life and death, everyone is responsible for their own life. Shunyan was very angry with Owen Sr. Because of him, the scales of the dragon's supreme body shattered into pieces and he lost half of his life. The rector yelled at Owen that this was Qingling College, not the Ouyang family's backyard. The rector said that he forgives this time since he lost his son. But because of the Ouyang family's behavioral style, the Lord is not welcome in the college now. Lord Ouyang was burning with anger. He only wanted revenge. Fury clouded his eyes. The old man said he was leaving, but the rector can't get involved in the personal affairs of father and son. Lord Ouyang thought that Lord Qin should give him an explanation on how his loser son handled the Ouyang family's young men. The old man decided that all those involved should be punished. The boy's father urged Xunyan to commit suicide in front of the Ouyang family. The guy realized that he was very seriously involved in a nasty story. Everyone around them couldn't believe what had happened in the arena, and they were curious as to how things were going to unfold next. Lord Qin was not relenting and demanded that the young man sacrifice himself. The boy gathered his strength and laughed loudly in response. He shouted to his father, "Who does he think he is? Qin Yuanshan is pushing him to sacrifice himself. He's the one who kicked him out of the house." His father was very angry. Lord Qin shouted that he would deal with the illegitimate son himself and rushed towards him. The rector of the college moved in front of him again. The rector knew for a fact that this had to stop and stood up for the young man. Xunyan asked the teacher not to stand in their way. He could fend for himself. This is a family matter. Xunyan told his father that he didn't want to disgrace the college, but he wouldn't let the old man behave so shamelessly. The son told his father that he would give him a chance. He will allow him to attack 10 times as a Silver Moon warrior. If Xunyan dies, his death will glorify the father for betraying his son and seeking glory. The young man added that from now on they were strangers. This he said in public in front of witnesses. Qin Sr. shouted that then Xunyan should die right now. The young man's face twisted with hatred. Father and son clashed in a fierce battle. The guy thrust his blade forward, but Mr. Qin, using his internal energy, decided to stop this lunge. The old man dodged the blade and hit the young man in the chest. The blow was so strong that the boy coughed up blood. Father said that Xunyan is now very arrogant. Lord Qin decided not to procrastinate any longer and dispose of the scion as quickly as possible. The father went to attack his son with a shout. The young man put up a lockdown and closed his eyes in surprise. The old man marveled that his son's body had become protected by the persistent gas. Everyone thought that the guy was a dragon god since he had such a persistent gas to protect his body. The older warrior immediately realized that it was the 6-star level of the star world. Another added that he had the spiritual cultivation of 8 stars, plus the physical cultivation of 6 stars in the star world. Why did it take so long for Xunyan to get into our college? He immediately became an influential person here. The girl noticed that the young warrior was very savvy in sword cultivation. Lord Qin shouted, "How about double cultivating the spiritual body? If he has 8 more times to strike 6, Xunyan won't be able to withstand that much beating." The dean couldn't understand why Qin Yuanshan was so crazy. Xunyan adopted a defensive stance and shouted that he was ready to repel the attack. The father lunged at him with a roar. It was very fierce. The old man twisted the young man's arm hard, and he cried out loudly in pain. The opponent used a water dragon fist, Storm Palm. Xunyan fell to the bottom of the pit, but he had the strength to get up and climb out. Lord Qin couldn't understand how this boy was still on his feet. The old man immediately shouted that the boy was about to die. From above came the chirping of a bird and the sound of flapping wings. Lord Qin raised his head and saw the huge monster bird preparing to attack him. Everyone cried out that it was a Silver Moon-level monster. The bird chirped again and opened its huge beak. The old man looked up at the bird from below and couldn't believe that a Silver Moon-level monster had decided to attack him. Lord Qin used the Xuan-level super martial skill of the Qin family and applied the technique the Lord crushes the tiger with his fist. The energy tiger decided to attack the monster bird. There was a click of some sort and the bird chirped again. Xunyan couldn't understand why Xiaoyu flew over. His wings were broken. The injured young man decided to get attention and shouted to his father to come back to deal with him and leave the bird alone. Master Qin was surprised that the young man was willing to defend this monster. The bird took a deep breath and unleashed thunder and lightning upon her adversary. Dean was surprised to see a monster that could defend itself with thunder. Angry and furious, Lord Qin shifted his anger to the bird. He pounced on the feathered man and kicked him in the head with all his might. The unconscious bird fell to the ground. The young man cried out in despair. Xunyan didn't want anything to happen to his friend. Milady called the guy a bad word and said she was still living in him. Why didn't he discuss it with her? The lady advised her ward to straighten out his father and not to let the rascal go. Xunyan shouted with anger. Everyone saw a powerful pillar of energy soar into the sky. Xunyan turned into a terrifying monster from hatred. Lord Qin saw what had happened to his son and was very frightened. He didn't expect this. In the arena stood two relatives who did not recognize each other and were ready to destroy one of the other. Xunyan let out a victory cry of a bloodthirsty hunter. The young man grabbed his ancestor by the neck and squeezed his hand tightly. Xunyan soared upwards while continuing to hold his father by the throat. Rising above the ground, the enraged guy threw his opponent down with all his might and then rushed after him. His anger was at an all-time high. Xunyan lifted his father off the ground, holding him tightly by the throat. The young warrior's eyes burned with fire and yearned for justice. The guy let go of the old man and he knelt down. Xunyan helplessly said with tears in his eyes that if he could destroy his son, he could not destroy his father. The young man thought he should hurry up. He felt weakness in his legs. They were weaker than the last time. Xunyan felt dizzy and his legs began to wobble. The young man had no strength left. He fell to his knees and wondered if his father would take advantage of his weakness. The boy fell exhausted on the ground, and my lady shouted in his ear that even if he didn't dispose of his father, he must destroy his martial art. Otherwise, he had wasted his strength. Lord Qin silently watched the young man lying senseless. He realized that his illegitimate son had run out of strength. The old man thought it was a punishment for him. He must deal with his son. He made up his mind to do so and rushed toward the young man with curses. Suddenly, something flashed in front of the old man, and he was thrown backwards. He flew off and hit the ground painfully, blood gushing from his mouth. Lord Qin coughed and began to come to his senses. His eyes portrayed horror. He couldn't even imagine such a thing. Before his eyes appeared the same mysterious stranger who had been rescued in the forest by Xunyan and then selflessly treated for 4 hours. The stranger said that Qin Yuanshan had already landed 10 strikes, and he shouldn't mess around in her academy. The dean of the college saw that his superior was before him and bowed his head before her. Everyone was very surprised to see the dean. A high school student said it was their dean, #1 on the talent list. Everyone was even more interested in how things would unfold next. Xunyan half-heartedly noted to himself that he had a connection with the dean of the academy. The dean looked at the young man and huffed. The guy started to lose consciousness and couldn't hear anything anymore. The dean loudly announced that Xunyan was her student from this moment on. If anyone wanted to deal with the guy, they would have to deal with her first. The dean turned to Lord Qin. Did he want to say something? He shook his head negatively. The dean told him to go back home and tell his ancestor Qin Hong what the rules were now. If he had anything against it, she would personally fight him to see if the Qin family was ready to live on their own. Lord Qin only nodded in agreement. The dean also told Qin to tell everything to the Ouyang family. The dean reminded that she was a princess-level warrior, her ancestor, Heavenly Warrior Xuan. The dean told the teacher to take Xunyan to Qingchen Hall. The rest of the students could disperse. The dean told Xunyan to stop pretending, get up and tell everything. The young man stood up and looked around. The dean sitting in front of him announced that the Heavenly Jade Cave would open in 10 days. All Qinling ranking leaders are eligible to participate. Since the young man defeated Qin Yuanshan, he is now at 10th place in the Qingling rankings. Xunyan should be ready to fight in 10 days. Xunyan naively asked, "What was the Heavenly Jade Cave?" The dean told me that it was a training place left by the ancestors for Qinling Academy. There are opportunities and dangers there. The Heavenly Jade Cave opens every 3 years. The disciples always wait for the opportunity to enter the Jade Cave. The young man was very surprised at what he heard. He had discovered so many new things by talking to the dean. The dean continued and said that treasures weren't that attractive. The reason why talents from the Qinling ranking didn't break through and choose the Tianquan Academy instead of Qinling is because of the golden black fruit. The consumption of the golden black fruit can open the astral palace and accumulate spiritual knowledge. Only when a practitioner reaches the level of a sage can he accumulate spiritual knowledge. The dean added that the Heavenly Jade Cave is forbidden. Only those below the silver moon level can enter. The interlocutor told the dumbfounded young man that she would put it on him, and Xunyan would be able to obtain the golden black fruit, which would help him practice in the future. 10 days later, the applicants approached the portal. Xunyan recalled how great a teacher the dean of the academy was. She taught him hand-to-hand combat. She has a fine figure and good character. And then someone called out to the young man. 2 disciples stood in front of him, and one said that Ouyang Chengfeng was his cousin. And he added that if Xunyan was willing to destroy his martial prowess, then he would put his grudges behind him. Xunyan replied that he was worthy of his cousin. The same manner of speaking, the young man offered to do it right now to fight. His interlocutor became angry, but remained silent. The senior said the dean and elders would be here soon too. The girl remarked that if he wanted to become famous right now, he should challenge the dean's apprentice to a fight. Chen Feng's cousin was once again silent in response. He thought a bunch of losers had decided to conspire against him. His associate said no one was colluding, it was just unpleasant to see his shameless appearance. He suggested that Chen Feng's cousin should not molest underage girls, but rather bully a high school senior who was a top-ranked student, for example. If you can beat him, everyone will worship you. His opponent said he would beat him sooner or later, of course. Cousin added that while in the Heavenly Jade Cave, everyone competes with each other, and he would fight all the time. Xu Nian would be unfortunate in the cave. Everyone noticed that the dean of the academy had shown up. The dean announced to all the students that today is the day the Heavenly Jade Cave is open. For the next 10 days, all students stay in this cave. The dean added that they would all monitor the students through the Zhuan Heavenly Mirror and evaluate their performance. Students are not allowed to kill each other. It is allowed to fight over treasures. If a student is in danger, they can crush the golden black token and go outside. The golden black fruit will ripen in 10 days. When it is ripe, students will have 2 hours to pick it. If you can't pick it, the tree will devour the fruit. The dean added that this time the cave is special, and there will be an academic competition in a month's time. The top 3 students will participate in the competition. Also, the dean went on and explained all the rules that the students would live by and treasure hunt for these 10 days. The dean led all the participants to the cave and said that now it was up to them. The valedictory words ended and all students were sent into the portal. Everything shone before them. It seemed as if the stars were creating a new universe. Young people dared to take the first step towards the unknown. Xunyan still hadn't made up his mind, but there was no turning back now. The boy took a step forward and the portal was at his back. The young man passed through the portal and found himself in a new territory. There was a huge mountain in front of him. Someone behind his back said that Xunyan was a lucky man. It was Chen Feng's cousin. He asked the young man if he would be willing to crush his token himself. Xunyan asked his interlocutor if he was sure that he wouldn't be beaten right now. Cousin replied that he now intended to hold Xunyan accountable. Those observing from the outside through the mirror noted that Xunyan was next to Ling Han. The dean at this time decided to have a cup of coffee. Looking at the young man, she thought he was so unlucky. Xunyan said that he doesn't need to be intimidated. He's not a timid man. Ling Han, swinging his sword at the guy, shouted that his opponent's chances of winning today were 0. Xunyan clenched his fists with tremendous strength. The tension was rising. Ling Han swung and struck Xunyan with his sword. He stopped his opponent's weapon with his bare hands. Our hero was more than a little angry. The rules of the cave were quickly being broken. Lin Han stated that he had only used half of his strength to test his opponent. It would be more difficult for him now. Xunyan pulled out his sword and said that he now had a weapon as well. Lin Han stated that his opponent would not be able to surpass him even with weapons. Xu Han suggested that the opponent should attack first, and the men lashed out at each other in anger. Their weapons glittered in the sun like lightning in the sky. Lin Han was getting more and more excited in anticipation of revenge. His opponent coolly repelled all attacks. Xunyan missed a punch and flew backwards. The young man turned his back to his opponent. Lin Han shouted to the man not to dare to run away, but the guy took big leaps to get away from the offender. In the mirror, everyone could see Xunyan running away. The dean couldn't figure out where the young man was running to. The young man stopped in front of a deep cliff. There was no further road. There was a huge gulf in front of the guy. Ling Han appeared from behind and said that he didn't expect Xunyan to be so cowardly. He ran away to this Duansheng cliff. It's a dead end. Milady told the young man that she was considering the option of jumping. It's very dangerous, but it's possible, and the stake would be his life. He would have to jump. Xunyan understood that he had to jump. Otherwise, how could he compete in the competition? The young man decided that there was always something to do before jumping, so that he would not be thought of as being chased like a lame dog who had no chance to escape before he jumped off the cliff. The mentor said it was a worthy solution, so she decided to help her mentee. Xunyan replied to her that that would be fine. The attacker asked why he was laughing. Doesn't he want to get a gold order? Ling Chen said he would beat the guy until he gave up the ends. Milady was guiding Xunyan's sword with practically her own hands. A conventional ring was formed in the clearing, where opponents were going to fight on swords. Xunyan moved closer and closer to the edge of the abyss. Lin Han was already prepared to strike a decisive blow. He shouted loudly, "Sword Spirit!" And in the same instant, he was completely naked. The only thing he had on was his sword. Ling Han shouted out in shame and embarrassment. Everyone watching in the mirror saw the incident. Shunyan realized that his opponent's attack had been thwarted, and now he had nothing to worry about. The audience laughed loudly. Ling Han shouted in anger that he would destroy Shunyan. The young man said goodbye and left the unfortunate attacker alone with his shame. Shunyan sighed from the abyss straight down. The audience thought the guy had lost his mind. The dean jumped up in surprise and shrieked. She urgently needed to know what had happened to the young man. The dean immediately grew sad and was surprised by this feeling of hers. Shunyan did not crash. He tried to reduce his speed by clinging to the steep cliff in the fall. Milady said he could cling no more as there was a lake below. The boy stopped clinging and went into freefall, but the fear wouldn't leave him. And then he saw the lake below, prepared to land. The cold water enveloped the young man and he stopped falling. Now he was drowning. But it was not long. Our hero quickly surfaced and reached the shore. The water was cold and the guy was freezing. Milady said that this was Tian Yuan's cold water pool. No one said it would be easy. 1 day's practice inside the pool is equal to 1 month of regular practice. It is very helpful for both spiritual and physical practice. Had to dive back into the lake for practice. He began to sink gently to the bottom and assumed a pose comfortable for meditation. He found it all very interesting. Milady explained that the cold water in the Tian Yuan pool is a rare treasure, but it's a dangerous place. The boy thought the clouds and thunder were terrible, but they still couldn't ruin everyone. I wonder if there is any other danger here. And then he saw something terrible. Shunyan was ready to scream in terror. There were human bones at the bottom of the lake. Milady told him not to be frightened. These people died because of bad luck. But she will help him. Milady began to tell him how much he could learn here now. Maybe he wants to control lightning. Shunyan floated to the surface and shouted that this was such a power. The young man did not want to share the fate of those who lay at the bottom of the pond. Milady said he has nothing to worry about. She will protect his soul. He just has to endure the pain of hundreds of lightning strikes. Shunyan was willing to endure pain to become stronger. Lightning struck the young man. It hurt, but he didn't stand a chance and he endured. An hour later, the guy was swimming in the lake, regaining his strength after the ordeal. Milady said enough is enough and we should hurry up and get to practicing. In the blink of an eye, the thunder could be gone. 6 days later, Shunyan could already meditatingly float above the lake. He was thrilled. Star-E warrior of the 9 stars. The refinement of a god and a demon, Star World, the 7th heaven. Shunyan realized that it was time for him to leave. The college students would be surprised to see him again. Shunyan wondered how many attacks Ling Han would be able to withstand now. Climbing out of the abyss, Shunyan noted that the storage bag was fine. Everyone was terribly surprised when Shunyan appeared in the mirror. He rose from the cliff of life. The dean was most surprised and pleased. She exclaimed with joy that her student was alive. Everyone was amazed at how he managed to survive the fall off the cliff. Everyone wondered why it hadn't come out 6 days ago. The dean said that the other participants had already scored a lot of points in these 6 days. Shunyan would have to be very careful. The dean thought that she felt bad all these days when he disappeared. She must have fallen in love. Someone shouted that Shunyan had met a terrifying creature. In front of the young man stood a beast of the 9-star level of the Star World. The animal stood up on its hind legs and let out a powerful roar. Shunan was not the least bit afraid. The beast moved its muzzle closer to the warrior and roared at him, spitting saliva. They looked at each other without averting their gaze. And then the guy slapped the animal with all his might. Everyone exclaimed in horror. From all around, many of the same beasts began to descend. Shunyan thought that he had disturbed a pack of strange monkeys. Shunyan decided that after practicing, it was a good idea to see what progress he had made. The warrior drew his sword and prepared to fend off the onslaught of the strange animals advancing on him. The dean was perplexed. What did he want to do? Why did he suddenly rush towards a group of monsters? Everyone was shouting that there were hundreds of Star World beasts in this pack. The dean looked at her student with admiration. Shunyan moved from one animal to another with lightning speed while damaging them with his weapon. This was the 9-star cultivation of the Star World. The young man had truly made a breakthrough. The guy was standing in a clearing with a blade in his hand, with defeated beasts lying around him. Shunyan thought it was cool. Somewhere in the forest a fire appeared. The young man thought it was the other contestants. The onlookers saw Shunyan move into the forest towards that fire. The guy saw burning grass near where his co-workers were stomping. A silver moon-level beast was coming at them. It was a flaming beast. He's like a real dragon spewing flames from his mouth. The young people tried to escape him. it was very difficult. The guy urged the girl to leave. He will hold the monster back. If it fails, then crushes the black and white token. The whole place was on fire. The beast came closer and closer. There was less and less chance of escape. The girl ran away and the boy, putting out his sword, rushed straight at the fearsome beast. The guy yelled to the girl to be careful when he noticed the animal chasing the young lady. The girl looked around in fright and saw a large fire hazard approaching. The monster had already opened its jaws over the girl in anticipation. The young lady realized that doom was imminent. The boy shouted her name in desperation as he said goodbye. Suddenly, a fist of fury appeared from nowhere, along with its master, Shunyan. The evil fire dragon was mercilessly beaten. Our hero fearlessly protected the girl from this fire-breathing villain. Shunyan said to the girl, "After all, it's a good thing he made it in time. Otherwise, the animal might have injured or fried Han Xin." The girl was shocked that an alien silver moon-level beast had been defeated with her fist. Shunyan said that he couldn't miss such a chance to save the beauty. The dean, watching her student, got angry, became jealous of him for this flirtation, and called him a playboy. Chen Woody, watching his friend, envied his friend's ability to flirt so effectively. He wished he could do the same, but the beast did not relent, for it was not yet finally defeated. The animal released a pillar of fire into the sky and roared loudly. The girl shuddered again with fright. Shunyan, as part of the rescue, but not for the sake of flirting, hugged the girl and jumped aside with her. He was just in time to do so, because the next instant that place was engulfed in flames. As they were whisked away to safety, young lady revealed that Luo Dong had broken his golden black token. Now there was no one to take care of her. Shunyan told the senior marshal sister to stay away, and he would deal with this foreign beast himself. The girl agreed and asked him to be careful. The young man told the beast that he was lucky today and would be the first to experience its new power. Shunyan grouped himself, tensed up, and prepared to repel the attack. The beast came straight at the warrior. The guy moved to meet him. The young man activated the option, the Thunderlord's fist. That fist delivered a crushing blow to the beast. Shunyan continued to fight without stopping for a second. As he bounced to the side, parts of that very beast were flying around behind him. It was over. Everyone was amazed at how it could be done in one fell swoop. The onlookers realized that his combat skills had crushed the Silver Moon Beast with a single blow. It was all due to the dean. When did she have time to train him? The dean thought she hadn't taught the young man this. She was confused herself. Shunyan lifted the sparkling stone. The girl said that it was the crystal core of a silver-level monster. The energy in it was equal to the total amount of a month's practice at the peak of the Star World. The young men were chatting amiably. "I wonder if there are any other Silver Moon-level monsters nearby." Everyone around me was overcome with emotion at what they saw in the mirror. The girl said that she knows where 2 Silver Moon-level monsters reside, but both of them are very strong. They are guarding the treasure. Shunyan asked, "How did she know that?" "Last time I was there, those monsters chased me. After I left that place, the monsters stopped chasing me." The girl added that they were probably guarding something there. If the boy was interested, she would show him the place. Shunyan agreed, and they went to explore. The contestant said that Ji Feng acted meanly by attacking her. The girl claims this is her prey, and she's gonna spare the guy when she gets out of here. Ji Feng excused himself and said that he didn't want to attack her, but he really needs that monster's crystal. A crystal core of earthly properties is needed to practice. The young man added that with this crystal core, he would be able to successfully break through to the Silver Moon level and immediately leave the college. His actions don't violate the rules, so the college can't do anything to him. Ji Feng asked the girl to help her, or would she crush the golden black token herself? The girl bared her sword and said he might not even dream of it. The guy only laughed back at her. Everyone watching in the mirror noticed that the young man had mistreated the girl and began to shout that he was a scoundrel. He should not mutilate such a beautiful girl. The girl, defending herself, screamed for him to stop his violence. Shunyan and his companion approached the designated place. Everyone started chanting that Shunyan would restore justice and save Yunlan from Su Feng. Su Feng told Shunyan and his companion to go on their way and not to linger here, to avoid getting into trouble. All the onlookers said that now Marshal brother Shunyan would show how to behave properly in such situations. There was no way he would pass by when a girl was in danger. Everyone sympathized with Shi Feng. Shunyan said that he is a person who always likes to be busy doing something, and if he is not busy, his body is itchy and looking for adventure. Our hero's companion giggled in response. Shi Feng said that Shunyan was apparently seeking his doom. The instigator said that neither Shunyan nor Han Xin would be able to overpower him. He feels very powerful this time. Han Xin, giggling, stated that she was just an observer. Shi Feng could figure out the relationship with Shunyan. Shi Feng found himself confused. He grabbed his weapon, forgetting that he had threatened the girl earlier, and started harassing Shunyan. He said he would teach him a lesson because he shouldn't have been insulted. Han Xin shouted for Shunyan to get out of here as soon as possible. After all, he wouldn't be able to defeat that bully Shi Feng. The young man said he shouldn't worry about him. He can take care of himself. That is exactly his job and his favorite thing to do. The dean, who was watching, was furious. Shi Feng decided to go on the attack and thrust his weapon forward, glaring threateningly at his opponent. He jumped up, wanting to strike Shunyan with a single blow, but the latter parried the blow easily and casually. Shi Feng was very surprised at how his opponent calmly simply caught his weapon with his bare hands. The onlookers were screaming that it was simply amazing. It takes incredible strength and speed. Now Shunyan has gone on the attack. He raised his opponent's weapon above his head and brought it down with incredible force. Shi Feng was sealed to the ground. There was no chance of avoiding it. He lay there thinking that it was impossible, wasn't it? How could he lose like this? Shunyan told him not to hurt any more girls and not to bully passers-by. The defeated opponent said he would never do that again. Shunyan looked at the one with disbelief. Shi Feng couldn't lift himself off the ground in any way. Shunyan motioned for the man to stand up and fight back against his assailant. The young man didn't realize where his opponent had gone. Shunyan picked up a golden black token from the ground. The guy said he could get it back, and he's not worth a thank you. Looking into the mirror, Shunyan said, handing it over to the audience. Shi Feng was in the college in the same instant, and everyone realized that he had returned. The onlookers, with resentment for Su Feng hurting the girls, wanted to slap him. The bad one was screaming to be spared and left alone. The dean was watching everything that was happening with curiosity. Shunyan, lifting up the injured girl, asked, "How is she feeling?" The girl replied that she was fine. She has a cure for injuries and sprains, and tomorrow she is ready to be tested more effectively. Shunyan said that it was getting late and we should find a place to rest. Everyone agreed with him. Shunyan made a fire and the three of them warmed themselves around it, telling each other interesting stories from their lives. The company was having a relaxed time. They had a good time and were not bored. All the spectators watched the young people with interest. The young men envied Shunyan for being so at ease with these two beauties. The next day, new adventures awaited them. The company saw dangerous monsters on the rocks. There were more than two of them. There was a wild roar. The monster showed its sharp fangs and hate-burning eyes. Another, equally fearsome beast was ready to fight its abuser with equal fury. And so it was. The beasts clutched at each other with an iron grip and began to tear at each other. Shreds of fur and blood splattered in all directions. The roar was unbelievable. One of the monsters received a deep wound and let out a loud scream. He retaliated by thrusting his sword-sharp claws into his opponent's chest. It was a bloody battle for life. The tiger-like monster prepared to make a leap. He sank his sharp teeth into his opponent's paw, and he howled in pain. The monster tiger bit off a paw in one motion and held it in its mouth like a trophy. The beast was celebrating its victory. The girl thought it was very cruel. She suggested changing the target and going somewhere else. Shunyan rose from the ambush and said that they would not change the target. The companion began to watch in horror at what would happen next. Shunyan told the girls to hide and watch from cover as he dealt with the monster. The spectators decided that the young man shouldn't take such a risk. This silver moon beast monster of the second-level star world. The girls were very scared and said that Shunyan shouldn't do that. It's a higher-level beast and it's crazy. The guy didn't listen to them and was already out on the warpath with a ruthless opponent. The young man immediately went on the attack and moved towards the monster, thrusting his blade forward. The dangerous predator opened its mouth and roared. The beast intended to tear the warrior apart, displaying its sharp claws in front of it. Shunyan then decided to use his invincible fist. The young warrior put all his energy into it and powerfully struck the beast. He then clawed at the tiger's left eye. The tiger managed to ajar him one last time and saw a young man with a sword. The boy thrust his deadly weapon into that voice. The one-eyed monster roared in unbearable pain and fell senseless to the ground. Shunyan fulfilled this part of his mission and protected the girls from the beast. All the spectators were amazed at how the young man quickly and confidently dealt with such a fearsome monster. Everyone noted that the young man's ghost sword skills and his beast-slaying combat skills were of the Silver Moon level. Everyone noted that the young man behaves like a chosen one. It's unrealistic for an ordinary person to do that. The dean was once again amazed by Shunyan's abilities. This was a worthy student. The dean wondered where the young man could have learned these complex fighting skills. What was his secret? Shunyan noticed something on the ground. He picked up the object. It was a crystal wind core. It was a good result. The young man thought that if he knew how to improve his weapon, he could put this crystal core into his sword. If his sword power increases, he can defeat all monsters. The Thunder Lord's fist is strong. He will be able to strike a decisive blow. But he must also have powerful standard combat skills. My lady asked if the young man wanted to know how to improve the weapon. Shunyan answered in the affirmative. Milady asked to be called Empress and said she knew everything about all the skills. Shunyan responded by calling her Empress and asked her to teach him weapon improvement skills. His mentor said that she would teach him everything when he left the Celestial Jade Cave. It would be a good idea to get the golden black fruit. It will also help improve the weapon. The girls ran after their savior while he thought about how to get that golden black fruit. Shunyan said that he was a little tired when dealing with this monster. The guy suggested that the girls go down into the cave and see what those alien creatures were fighting about. When all three of them entered the cave, they saw something unexpected. Shunyan said that these iron boxes are not locked and sealed. They each took a box and decided to open them. The girl opened, squinted her eyes, and shrieked in surprise. Her companion was also excited by what she saw in the box. The girl retrieved a top yellow level spirit stone from the box. Her companion turned out to have a ground level battle formula in her box. Shunyan had a huge bone in his drawer. He was very surprised by this artifact. The spectators pointed out that the highest yellow level spirit stone could be used for long-term cultivation of Silver Moon Warrior skill. And Earth-level martial formulas are very scarce in the Academy Library. The entire audience envied the findings of this trio. Milady said that this is the leg bone of an Imperial-level beast. Its Reiki is sealed, so it looks like an ordinary bone. But once the seal is broken, it will release a huge amount of energy that is much more powerful than their stuff. Shunyan advised the girl to keep this book as it was suitable for her cultivation. And the spiritual stone had found a good mistress. The girl said that she couldn't do that. After all, these were Shunyan's trophies. Another added that it wouldn't be fair, as a young man only has a bone to pick. Shunyan reassured them he believes that bone is a good thing, more valuable than a stone in a book. The girls looked at the young man with disbelief. The onlookers outside thought that Shunyan had given up trophies to pick up these girls. The 10th and last day had come. The coveted fruit was still above the golden black rock. Our trio approached the place. Some of the high school students were already in place. They wondered, where did Shunyan come from? He should be dead after falling off the cliff. We decided not to attack him for now and sort it out amongst ourselves. Shunyan wondered how long it should take for the fruit to ripen. The young man replied that it should take about 6 hours. But when the fruit was ripe, it would attract many foreign beasts. Shunyan said that there was no other warrior. The interlocutor replied that he always goes his own way. The companions remarked that his strength was too great, and they had little chance of obtaining the golden black fruit. It would appear later. The young men decided to unite to defeat the strongest opponent who has not yet arrived, and then they will compete against each other. Not everyone was in agreement with such a proposal. We finally have a deal, but before we eliminate him, we must agree not to attack each other. The conditions for all proved to be acceptable. Panic set in. It seems that this Dugu Jingcheng is already here. Shunyan knew that he was a strong player, and everyone would try to destroy him. Shunyan said that he was not afraid of anything and would eliminate all opponents one by one. The opponent said that 9 days ago, Shunyan ran away from him off the cliff, and now he was trying to threaten him. He must have hit his head on the cliff when he fell. Shunyan said that jumping off the cliff wasn't a problem. But his rival would have a problem with girls in his life. None would love him because of his little earthworm. The competitor shouted for the young man to shut up or else these would be his last words. So he went after Shunyan with his fist to confront him. The guy was calm about the attack. That's why he provoked his opponent. Our hero coolly parried the attacker's shot. Shunyan grabbed his opponent's attacking arm. Then with one punch to the chest, he lifted him high up and threw it far away from him with force. His opponent fell to the ground, hit his head, and blood flowed from his mouth. Shunyan urged Ling Han to sort himself out in front of everyone present. It was time to remind him and the Ouyang family that he was not to be intimidated. Now it's time to show everyone what Shunyan can do. Ling Han bleedingly replied that he hadn't expected the young man to fight back like this. He was willing to forget about the feud for a while. Xunyan told him to promise not to provoke him in the future. Otherwise, the trouble would be much more serious. Ling Han thought about it and decided to do something different. He had a plan of his own. Xunyan, looking at this, defiantly yawned. Something happened to Ling Han, and he began to rapidly transform. His body turned red and began to increase in size. His clothes were ripping at the seams. Eyes glazed over, fangs grew. He became a true huge monster. The giant smashed everything in its path. That mountain of muscle walked up to Xunyan and laughed. The girls in fear didn't know where to run. One of the warriors realized that it was a fierce beast blood pill. It could increase the pain power several times for a short time. But it will hurt the basics of life expectancy, unless there's fierce beast blood to make another blood spirit pill. Ling Han said that he wouldn't provoke Xunyan anymore. He would just destroy him today. Xunyan calmly replied that it wouldn't be easy for even such a bulky man to do so. Monster, Ling Han said as he began to straighten out his opponent right now. Xunyan activated his heavenly Thunder Fury fists and brought them down on his opponent. At the young man's exertion, the ground beneath his nons was crumbling. A powerful stream of energy was directed towards the monster. Our hero smiled at the fact that he could resist such an enemy. 9 days ago, it would have been unimaginable. Ling Han definitely didn't expect such an impulse from a junior college student. Xunyan continued to attack. A swift kick came straight at his liver. The giant staggered backwards, blood coming out of his mouth. Ling Han thought that his strength wasn't enough to effectively continue the fight. How could this have happened? The thug let out a heartbreaking scream in rage. His eyes burned with a bright flame. Ling Han was like an erupting volcano. One of the warriors noticed that it was the ground-level Lin family's skill, the ghostly fire palm. Ling Han was stumped. The big guy didn't want to continue the battle any longer. He realized this was not going to end well for him. Xunyan was unwilling to stop. The young man decided to take the matter to its logical conclusion. He took out the bone he had obtained from the cave. The girls noticed that this bone is definitely a treasure. Xunyan asked his opponent, "How is he feeling right now? Is the furious beast blood pill really that powerful?" This was followed by a swift blade strike to the monster's chest. Lin Chang felt the point of the sword stabbing into him, into the bones of his rib cage. The thug fell down. Xunyan said that he wasn't going to finish him off. He would just send him back. The young man broke Ling Han's token. As he disappeared, he cursed his opponent and threatened him as usual. Xunyan wished the protagonist good luck and said that he could now be forgotten about in this cave. And then the main challenger for the title of winner, Dugu Jingcheng, appeared on the mountain. The spectators near the mirror decided that this was going to be the most epic battle of the 10 days. Jingcheng said that when he saw Xunyan at the entrance of the cave, he knew that there would be a battle between them. The young warrior was developing faster than anyone could imagine. He added that Xunyan was great in battle right now. "Why don't you take a break before our fight, so that others wouldn't blame me for taking advantage of the situation?" Xunyan said that there was no need to recover, and he was ready. Everyone watched the action with interest. One of the warriors remarked that he was lucky to attend the same college with such students. Xunyan asked if the opponent needed a sword. He replied that he had heard that the young man had used his fingers as a sword in the fight with Chen Feng, and unlocked Chen Feng's spear. He wants to try that too. Jingchen said that his opponent had a powerful sword technique. Xunyan recognized that his opponent's strength was very great, so he intended to use his sword. He promised to do his best to win this battle. The young warrior applied his sword techniques. His opponent noted that he was good at it. Jingchen added that the speed is there, but not enough strength. The high school student lunged forward, exposing his fingers instead of his sword. He was repeating Xunyan's technique. Xunyan continued to hold the weapon firmly in his hand. The guy noted that Dugu's achievements in the sword method were truly outstanding. Dugu said that his opponent's sword method is excellent. In sword battles, Xunyan performs better. Dugu can't improve his sword quality like Xunyan. Therefore, he has to train longer. Xunyan thought that he didn't have this ability, but the Empress's tricks. There is a huge gulf between warriors. Milady said so that the young man wouldn't feel incomplete. After a certain amount of training, Xunyan's sword control talent would be the same as his opponent's. Xunyan agreed that he needed to train constantly. The opponent said that he knew that Xunyan's best skill was sword. Now it was time to show his true strength. The young man agreed and said he would do his best. All the spectators behind the mirror said that they would see how Xunyan could fight without weapons. Jingcheng, looking at our hero's bone, said that it was a unique weapon. The young man shouted that he was advancing, and with a victorious cry, the lad, waving the bone, rushed at the enemy. Jingchen masterfully parried the bone strikes. The young warrior was unable to do any damage to his opponent. Shunan drew his sword again, but there was no turning point in the battle. The guy was already having trouble standing on his feet. A college teacher said that Dugu Jingchen is a born sword-wielding genius. People call him the future master of the blade. The dean thought anxiously that she didn't expect Shunyan to be able to make it this far. She hoped that after this battle, he would not become arrogant and reckless and follow her to continue training. Meanwhile, Shunyan shouted that he would try again. He activated the ground level, combat skill, storm, sword method. With a shout, Jing Chung thrust his fingers forward like a blade. An imaginary sword appeared in his hands. The opponents were getting closer, fingers against bone. Dugu Jingchen decided that it was time to end it. Jing Chung used his sword formula against Shunyan's bone. The young warrior was ready for any development. Blood was oozing out of Shunyan's mouth. Blood oozed out of Dugu Jingcheng's mouth. Jingchen told his opponent to fight at full strength. Shunyan answered in the affirmative. He is ready. The elder warrior swung his sword and said that he himself had mastered this technique, and it was not one of the sword methods. This technique is very powerful, and he himself cannot fully control it. Shunyan exclaimed that his technique was the same. It was also personally created by him, and its power was also uncontrollable. Everything around the battlefield was energized like a thunderstorm. The warriors standing around decided to step back a bit so that they wouldn't be hit by their opponents during the battle. The college teacher didn't understand how two people so young could have such powerful strength. The dean excitedly added that she didn't believe that the golden black token could be broken in time to save their lives. She added, "This is crazy. Shunyan's martial arts are top-notch. She hopes there will be no serious injuries." Shunyan threw bone strikes left and right. His opponent was so skillful with his sword. The forces were roughly equal. Suddenly, something incredible happened. The girls standing nearby squinted their eyes fearfully. The teacher and the dean's hair stood up, eyes rounded. Everyone around them couldn't figure out who was winning in the end. Shunyan walked out of the epicenter with difficulty. Everyone shouted that the young warrior was the winner. The dean decided he was fantastic. Following the young man, Jingchen showed up and announced that he had lost. Shunyan said that he actually lost because he had an advantage in weapons. If the opponent's sword wasn't broken, then he lost. Jingchen objected that the quality of the sword was only very important to those who practice sword skills. If the sword broke, they would lose. So this competition he lost. Jingchen said he is going forward and hopes they will meet again in 20 days at the academy competition. Everyone recognized that the golden equal sign black fruit belonged to Shunyan because he had won this battle. They added that when the fetus matured, they would help the young man by fighting the alien animals and earn themselves points. The time for the fruit to ripen was approaching. Everyone decided not to waste any time. The warriors said that the young man must hurry to pick the fruit from the tree. Shunyan began to climb up the cliff with large leaps. Suddenly, flames engulfed the whole place. The clothes on the guy were starting to catch fire. Breathing was getting harder. Down below, his colleagues were trying their best to resist the alien beasts. It was becoming increasingly difficult for them to hold back the onslaught. Shunyan had already climbed the tree for the golden black fruit. The girls looked at his figure with admiration. The spectators near the mirror watched with interest to see what would happen next. The college girls couldn't take their eyes off the young man, or shyly covered their faces with their hands. It was getting harder and harder for Shunyan to climb up. His clothes were already completely burnt. The warriors below decided to retreat as so many alien beasts appeared at the foot of the cliff. Shunyan, no longer paying attention to his nakedness, shouted not to worry about him and retreated. He would handle it from here. The warriors below told the young man to be careful. Shunyan had already climbed up the branch to the fruit, but my lady told him not to touch it with his hands. Because it will have the effect, eat it straight up. Shunyan didn't understand how to do it yet. The fetus is very hot after all. The young man, without touching the fruit with his hand, swallowed it completely. My lady said we must hurry now. One must swallow this golden black fruit and release the excess flame. One must concentrate on swallowing the fruit now. Milady shouted, now to spit out the excess. Shunyan spat out everything he had accumulated in his mouth. It was a powerful flame, like a fire-breathing dragon. The young man directed this flame towards the alien beasts. They all began to scatter around with fear. No one was able to escape this dangerous flame. The spectators at the mirror noted that this flame could burn alien silver moon level beasts. Milady ordered her ward to sit in the lotus posture and concentrate. We must use the power of the golden black fruit to unlock the true spirit. Shunyan selflessly meditated, and then he choked and started coughing up blood. Shunyan didn't understand how this happened. Shouldn't a true spirit be able to easily open up due to the power of the golden black fruit? Now he looked like a suicidal person. The Empress explained that his true spirit was special, his spiritual sense several times stronger than ordinary people. So my lady asked the young man to swallow the fruit quickly. If he plucked it first, the power would not help him discover the true spirit. Shunyan tried once more to discover the true spirit within himself. The young man standing on one leg meditated and felt his true spirit being revealed. Any movements of wind and grass, martial skills, even the movement of spirit and chi energy were clearly displayed in the mind. My lady said that if the young man looked at himself from the outside now, he would see a whole new person. Shunyan was unexpectedly surprised. The young man asked the Empress if she could reveal the secret of spiritual cultivation to him. Milady said there was no hurry. It can wait until we get back. Now we must learn to wield a weapon. Shunyan decided to collect the crystal cores of the alien animals first. The dean congratulated his student on his victory, said to take it lightly. The next competition between the colleges will be extremely tough. The dean thought that maybe the young man could help her free herself from her fate. She hoped the lad would be able to make a good place for the college. Shunyan called the dean a beauty and said that he would certainly take first place. The woman covered herself with a blush and asked again, what did he call her? She decided the guy had had enough of life. Shunyan decided that if he could win her over, he could continue his relationship with her. The dean asked what the young man was cultivating for. He replied that he was practicing to change his destiny, to protect the people he cares about. To do that, he had to be strong. The dean asked if she was dear to him. Shunyan replied in the affirmative. The woman blushed and said it was good that he thought of her. Shunyan, smiling back, thought that the dean is not only his master, but also his first mistress. He doesn't intend to just give up like this. The dean said he must be tired after the test. Let him rest and she'll be back in 3 days, and she'll have a reward for him. The young man immediately dreamed. Dean added that they would also go to Chin's house and pick up his mother. Shunyan became alarmed. The young man thanked his mentor and bowed to her. The boy left the dean's house and went about his business. The woman thought that if he could help change her fate, she could marry him. Shunyan, rubbing his hands together, asked the Empress to teach him the methods of weapon refinement and the secret of spiritual consciousness. The Empress said that the lad already had a fine master who could teach him many things. Shunyan was immediately covered in sweat from embarrassment. Milady told him to calm down and not to think too much of himself. She wasn't jealous of him. She said she didn't want to teach him for nothing. He should do something in return. Shunyan responded by saying that he was willing to do everything and for as long as possible. Milady recognized that he was still weak, but she remembered his words. And if he betrayed her, he would die immediately. Shunyan said that he would never betray his Empress. Milady said that the method of weapon refinement is the same as the secret of spiritual consciousness. They complement each other. The Empress continued that the refinement of weapons depends on spiritual consciousness, and spiritual consciousness can also be strengthened in the refinement of weapons. Shunyan asked how those who refine weapons without the experience of a sage and true spirit could do so. The mentor replied that the real mastery of refinement is to change matter by controlling the flame with spiritual consciousness. They use Reiki to control the fire. The young man asked if there was a difference between using Reiki and spiritual creation to control fire. Spiritual consciousness can control any flame at will. One must develop a martial skill and use Reiki to fuel the flame for a long time. The mentor added that the secret she will teach is priceless. It is her unique secret skill. The lady warned that this method should not be told to others. The guy shouted, "The 100,000 hammer method!" My lady replied that the real essence of this method is the last step. When you can do 100,000 things at once, then you will become a master of perfection. Shunyan listened to this entire lesson and was amazed at the information he received. Milady summarized that she had taught the young man the 100,000 hammer method. Now he could practice on his own. Shunyan decided to now work hard and practice what he had learned. 3 days later, the dean and the young man met again. The dean handed the young man a book and said that this was his reward, a method of spiritual consciousness. Shunyan tried to think of what could have happened in these 3 days. The young man inquired, "Did the dean trade the red flame gold for this book?" The apprentice thanked his master and said that he would train hard. The dean promised to be by the young man's side when they arrived at the Qin family. The bird was descending. A large city appeared ahead. Shunyan knocked on the gate and told Qin Yuanshan to come out. The young man approached the sculpture. He lifted the sculpture up and once again called out loudly to his father. The boy became alarmed, and old memories came flooding back to him. He remembered living in this house. He remembered how hard it had been for him among the members of this family. He was often beaten and was afraid of many things. He had to work as a janitor. It wasn't a pleasant job. Suddenly, some shadows appeared and wondered why they were disturbing the Qin family. Qin Yuanshan came out and asked why the illegitimate son had returned. Shunan said he came to take his mom with him. Yuanshan became very angry upon hearing such a thing. The young man said his father had disowned him, and he's ready to fight with the whole Qin family until he gets his mom back. Yuanshan shouted that no one in this house dared to talk to him like that. His eldest son said that he had beaten that woman today, and Shunyan would get it now too. The father immediately gagged his son. Yuanshan recognized Shunyan's companion and didn't want to say bad things in front of her. Shunyan heard what his brother said and became very angry. His eyes went turreted and he shouted loudly. Shunyan could no longer be restrained. He fiercely attacked his brother and was ready to destroy him immediately. Qin Yuanshan thought that his youngest son had become very strong again. No one could keep the young man from being massacred. Yuanshan shouted for Shunyan not to touch his brother. The father of the family was immediately distracted. It was the dean. She told him not to move. She came here to support her student. Anyone who moves now will face certain death. The dean told the Qin family's ancestor, who also suddenly appeared, not to interfere. Her disciple would do whatever he wanted right now because the Qin family treated him very badly. The dean also warned that they couldn't rely on the Ouyang family because it could destroy them too. The Qin family's ancestor Zhuantan was a battle general. Dean Lin Yanren possessed the power of a princess. Yuanshan tearfully wanted to object to something, but he didn't dare. The dean asked, "Wasn't Qin Yuanshan very happy when the Ouyang family asked him to straighten out Shunyan? Then why are you getting upset now?" Yuanshan shouted loudly that Shunyan's mother was not dead. His eldest son had told an untruth. The dean was very surprised at what she heard. Shunyan couldn't believe his ears. So his mom was alive? He held his brother's breathless body in the balance. It seemed like he wasn't breathing anymore. Everyone was watching in horror. Shunyan interjected, "Is it true?" Shunyan looked at his brother's body. And then the cavalry intervened. The retired general, Elder Qin, came riding over and was about to deal with Shunyan. Another character appeared on stage, an old acquaintance. He told Shunyan that he hadn't seen him, his disciple, in months. He had made great progress. Shunyan was very excited when he saw his first master. Shunyan asked the master to wait for the young man to figure out what was really going on with his mom. Master said that the Qin family left him to die near the mass graves where he found him. You can expect anything from this family, any kind of meanness. The master said he would wait for the young man, and busied himself with the general, throwing him far back. The general fell on his back and lay motionless. Yuanshan exclaimed that this was sage-level strength. The dean was very surprised that Shunyan had a sage-level master. No wonder he could practice earth-level sword skills. Master said that Shunyan could ask the Qin family about everything. If they withhold anything, they will be killed. Yuanshan kept crying and repeating his eldest son's name. Father said that Shunyan's mother didn't die. She was taken away by the Shu family from the Jade Dragon Mountain. The dean told Shunyan that this family is very influential in the capital of Tianhai Empire. The Shu family has more power even than the leader of the country. His father added that his mother was a member of the Shu family. He found out when the family came together. Previously, she ran away from the family with a boyfriend, but he was a weak scholar. Then his mother entered the Qin family and became a servant. Then he fell in love with her. Shunyan's mother was a Xuan heaven-level warrior, but she couldn't save her boyfriend's life. Yuanshan told the guy to go look for his mom and leave the Qin family alone. Now they are not related in any way. Father added, if one were to go chasing now, one could catch up with the Shu family. Yuanshan wanted the Shu family to deal with the unfit boy. Shunyan decided to rush over to save his mom. The dean tried to calm the young man down. She said that she knew what the rules of the Dragon Jade Mountain were. An escaped student will not be destroyed as punishment. There is no danger to your mom. The dean added that his mom, an assistant master, so her punishment would not be severe. Shunyan queried if it was true that the punishment would not be severe for this. After all, he was very worried about his mother. The dean assured him. She herself is from the capital. The Shu family from the Jade Dragon Mountain is indirectly related to her, so you can trust her. The dean realizes that the young man really wants to see his mother, but he'd better not go to the capital for now, not until his strength surpasses hers. Shunyan wondered, how would his strength be able to surpass the princess's level? It was unrealistic. The dean said that even if he went there, he wouldn't see his mother, unless his strength could change the Shu family's decision. The girl added that moreover, his relationship with her could lead to his death in the imperial capital. Even though she has the level of a princess, she would only be able to protect herself. The master added that he had many enemies too. Exposing our relationship is more dangerous than going to the capital. Shunyan was puzzled and a little upset. He didn't know what decision he should make now. He needed to find answers to the question 0, who were his teachers? Milady joined in and said she had enemies too, and some of those enemies are still alive. Shunyan weighed the pros and cons and decided that he'd better practice harder for now. The master said that he had appeared here to give the young man this Dragon King's fist, and he gave Shunyan a very important book. The master turned around saying he had other important things to do. He couldn't stay here, and he flew away. Just as suddenly as he'd appeared, the young man realized that he would have to train from the book on his own. It's been a whole 10 days. As they were escorted to the competition, they were wished on behalf of all pupils for success, wonderful victories, and outstanding achievements. The young men thanked for the blessing and said they would do their best, and this time they will definitely bring victory. A bird arrived, and the young men were invited aboard the flying machine. The boys jumped on the bird in one leap. Now they could do it without much difficulty. Only Shunyan was still on the ground. He was asked why he was not getting up. The young man looked with surprise at the ring. Afterward, Guy lifted the ring high up. The bird flew in, chirped, and began its descent over Shunyan. The young man, already aboard his bird, explained his action by saying that his Xiao Yu would be offended if he used another flying machine, so he flew his own. The girls waved at them and wished them a pleasant flight and a soft landing. The young men shouted for the girls to expect good news from them. The two migratory birds were moving away until they completely disappeared into the sky. At this time, Chen Woody was riding the Black Thunderbolt Leopard. He found it very interesting. The rider adjusted the route and said that they were now going to the city of Tainfin. Birds were soaring in the sky. Shunyan sat on the back of his Xiao Yu and meditated. Another crew was interested in what the young man was doing on his bird. They assumed that one was practicing sword skills, and immediately wondered how one could practice sword skills while sitting on the back of a bird. Dean confirmed, when sword wielding reaches a certain level, it goes beyond the range of skills, focusing on the perception of creative concept. Shunyan practiced the sword of sharp wind. The cold wind in the air guided him to realization. Dugu Jinshin cried and said that he was the only one without sword skills. 3 days later, the expedition flew to Tianfen. Flying over the city was forbidden. It was decided to go for a landing. The young men concluded that it was much more prosperous here than in Tianhai. The travelers made their way to Tianchen Academy, an area for out-of-town visitors. The dean said hello to the local dean. They exchanged pleasantries. The girl pointed out that after the last competition, there were many talents in Shinling Academy. This is very encouraging. Dean Li said that Chengfeng Academy is also determined to win this time. He added that if his disciples harm the disciples of Qinglin Academy this time, don't blame them for it. One of the students of Chengfeng Academy said that the sword art of Dugu Jincheng of Qinglin Academy is excellent. He holds the title of Genius Swordmaster. Would he be willing to compete before the competition? Doug Zenshin said he wasn't interested. The Chengfeng Academy disciple was a little upset. Dean Li said that we'll see you in the trials arena then. We hope that your swordmaster can live up to his title. The next morning, everyone was ready to compete. The young men were discussing among themselves about the future performance. Dugu said that there is a lot of talent in these competitions. This time, getting a good ranking will not be as easy as expected. Shunyan looked at the list of competitors and wondered, how were they able to evaluate them before the game? Dugu replied that every time before the academy competition, the prefecture ranks the students of the top 10 academies in advance. The rank in the competition can be bet on. Shunyan looked at the fact that out of the 30 contestants, he was ranked 29th. Dugu said that the dean purposely withheld Shunyan's information. She wants him to be a dark horse and helped him win the money. Shunyan was very surprised by this information. The youngster added that all the other members of Qinling Academy are very strong and in good places in the rankings. The girl's rank is actually higher than Dugu Jingcheng's. He added that Zhu Ying is the first genius of Tianheng Academy. He is already 24 years old. 2 years ago, he reached the peak of level 9 of the Star World, His strength is incredible. He is using a sword made of black roundup. The guy added that college only restricts the participation of the star world, but does not prohibit breakthroughs during competitions. Therefore, many people decide to make a breakthrough in the competition. Dugu said that Zhao Yang reached the peak of the star world 2 years ago. He is an refiner. It is said that he controls a very powerful flame. Shunyan thought that he was also a true refiner. Dugu added that in third place was Feng Yu, who they had seen yesterday. She is 22 years old, peak 9 stars, innate sword spirit body. She is a very strong cultivator. Her pride is normal. Shunyan noticed Qin Tian's name from Tianheng Academy on the list of participants. He asked if it might be his talented brother. There's gonna be a meeting. The gawkers marveled at the big black leopard that strolled peacefully with a young man on its back through the city. The leopard came up to the sheriff's house, and the rider said to report that the young master had returned. He arrived a day late because he had not used the eagle, but he made it in time for the start of the contest. The servant was very excited, for they were waiting, and the young miss was very anxious. The young man laughed and asked how he guessed his clever idea. The girl grabbed the guy by the ear and said she was trying her best to find her rogue brother. The young man yelled out that he was in pain and didn't deserve to be treated like that. The girl said he must tell immediately where he had been all these months. He and his father were very worried after all. The boy shouted that he was wrong. Chen Woody stood in front of his sister and apologized. This was how he hoped to be forgiven. The boy explained to his sister that he decided to run away from home for her. The girl was very surprised to hear such a confession. He said he was looking for a husband for his sister. He thought it was imperative that he find his older sister a husband, so she would stop abusing her brother. She's so cruel. We should turn the tables on the husband, for example. The sister didn't like that answer. The brother was immediately hit in the jaw with a right punch, and the nice girl asked again where he had been all this time. His brother realized that he couldn't hide the truth any longer and confessed that he had been at Qinglin Academy all this time. The sister certainly didn't expect such a response from her sibling. Chen Woody said that he had witnesses in the form of the dean and the students of the academy. They are just all at Tianheng Academy right now. His sister asked why he had traveled so far. After all, his family got him into Tianjin Academy. The guy said again that he was looking for a son-in-law. He added that he'd found one, but he was 4 years younger. But he's very good and his talent is better than yours. The girl continued beating her younger brother, kicking him out of the room. The young men watched from the balcony what was happening below. They took an interest in the girls across from them. The girls noticed the young men too. One of the strangers hid her face under a veil. Shunyan felt some sort of emotional impact on him. The young man was taken aback. This had never happened to him before. The guy thought it might be a spiritual attack. The interlocutor reassured him. He said they were students from Tianzongzong Academy. The academy only accepts girls. That's why there are so many beautiful female students here. Shunyan noticed that the girls from their college were much prettier. The young Luli said goodbye until tomorrow. The veiled girl was interested in the young man. He has dual spiritual body cultivation and his physique is very attractive. Besides Zhao Yan, there is another good prey. The girl wondered what this young man tasted like. The next day came. Shunyan noted that there were very many people present. This was a rare event in Dongyang country, a gathering of talents from the top 10 academies. Many people came here from other cities. They announced the sheriff's appearance. A very important-looking man appeared. It was the sheriff. Shunyan noted that he had the peak of 9 stars and prince-level might. His face seemed familiar to the young man. The sheriff took the floor and said that the deans have been working hard. This time the competition is livelier than usual. The sheriff sat back in his seat and said there is a lot of talent in the top 10 academies. He looks forward to seeing them perform. An elder, a representative of the academy, appeared spectacularly. He introduced himself as Sun Hung. This time he was in charge of the academy competition. The elder called everyone to order. He said he would tell them the rules of the competition. The preliminary competition will take place today. The next semifinal will include 16 contestants. Shunyan and his comrades were surprised that this would be an elimination contest. The sheriff noted that this is all quite intriguing. The elder continued and said that the reward of the competition was that the top 8 students would be eligible to join the martial house immediately. The reward of the top 3, a heaven-level battle skill. All the spectators were thrilled with the awards. That's really great. The elder continued that for a second heaven-level martial skill and a meteorite iron weapon forged by a master. The audience came to an even greater delight. The elder prepared to announce the first place award. The audience was getting restless. The elder gave out that the first prize was a heaven-level battle skill and a piece of magic gold crystal steel, and a 3-day tutorial from the sheriff. Everyone in the stands went crazy. Magic gold crystal steel is a material for magical weapons, which can carry powerful sage-level power. The sheriff said he likes talented young people. Shunyan decided that he should receive the first-place reward, to make up for the red fire gold lost by the master when he exchanged it for secret spirit skills. The young man also wondered, would the sheriff be able to match the God Emperor? Elder reiterated that the contest will end when all but 16 contestants have fallen off the platform. Everyone in the stands sighed once again. The elder began to call out the participants one by one. The first one was Ji Yun. The young man appeared spectacularly in the arena. He landed immediately with sword in hand and took a fighting stance. The warrior introduced himself, saying his name was Ji Yun. The girls in the stands were in awe of this handsome man. Shunyan decided that there would be a grand show. The elder summoned Zhao Yan. A warrior emerged from the fiery flames. Feng Yu was announced next. The girl looked modest and shy. Her sword was in its sheath behind her back. The onlookers remarked that she looked great. She has the innate body of a sword spirit. The elder next announced Doug Jincheng. The young man flew gloriously into the arena as well. Then Qin Yan appeared behind him. Qin Yan was unarmed, but he looked spectacular as well. Shunyan was left standing by himself. The elder summoned our hero to the arena as well. And now the entire trio of Qingling Academy was already standing in the arena. But not everyone was familiar with the young disciple, Shunyan. One of the students at Tianhan Academy recognized the young man as his half-brother, said he had been banished from the family. He didn't expect to see him here. The interlocutor said it would be crazy. Does it really matter that a young man might die? Shunyan noticed that his brother and his comrade were staring at him intently. He thought that they were conspiring to get rid of him right away. Shunyan's comrades thought that maybe someone should join them to deal with the malcontents. Shunyan asked, how long could Dugu last against the combined efforts of Zhao Yan and Ji Yun? The latter replied that at least 15 minutes. Shunyan thought that this would be quite enough. The young man asked, what was on Shunyan's mind? Shunyan was developing a plan to confront his opponents, and in doing so, he calculated the conditions under which they should win. Shunyan knew that 14 people had to drop out. They would deal with 3 at once. In 15 minutes, the others would get rid of the 11 remaining. The young man said that even if the personal ranking is high, the Academy's ranking will lose more. Shunyan added that if things didn't go according to plan, everyone should take care of themselves. He noticed that these girls were studying him intently. The elder said, declaring the competition officially open. The spectators in the stands chanted joyfully. The participants breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, they could have fights. The Qingling Academy disciples were immediately rushed towards the opponents. The fight was 3 against 3. They had already divided up who would fight whom. Feng Yu thought, should Ji Yuan and Zhao Yan eliminate Dugu Jingcheng right away? If they eliminated him, it would mean that he didn't have enough strength, and it wouldn't be interesting to challenge him. The girl decided she would get rid of the weak trash first. At this time, the battle between the participants had already begun. The rival said he would eliminate the young man. It's not easy for him to be here. Then he can enjoy with all the spectators how the masters fight. The fighter looked at his opponent. He was overcome with fear and shouted for help. While his opponent was deciding on his first strike, he did it himself, and his opponent got a left. His first thought was that he'd been tricked. The blow was so hard that the opponent flew well back. The audience didn't expect this kind of plot development. It was great. A single strike was enough for Wei Yun of Tianheng Academy to be eliminated. There were 29 people left in the arena. Dugu's opponent was stealthily sneaking up from behind. He didn't even realize that he was not doing well in the rear. A stunning blow from our warrior hit his opponent right on the back of the head. The cunning disciple of Qingling Academy said that it was dangerous to attack from the back, and announced that Beihai Academy's Shan He had been eliminated. Feng Yu and her opponent looked at the scoreboard. There were 26 people left in the stands. There's still a lot to look forward to. Suddenly our warrior is attacked. The opponent decided to strike him with his sword, but he didn't. He dodged the blow with lightning speed. His opponent leaned forward by inertia. Our athlete grabbed his opponent by the skins, leaving him no chance to escape. And with the words, "Bye-bye, warrior," the opposing team went far out on a limb. Wang Hu of Benhai Academy has been eliminated. There are 19 people left. Feng Yu has defeated her opponent. On the scoreboard, there were 18 people left. The girl with the Vuvlia sends another opponent to the chest with a punch to knock out. 17 people in the stands. Dugu with his sword comes upon the enemy. The one realizes that the two losers from Benhai Academy are a disgrace. A warrior appeared who had a clear plan to incapacitate Shunyan. He didn't know yet that Shunyan was the dark horse of Qingling Academy. This warrior, attacking our hero, put his hand forward and told his opponent to behold his palm. Shunyan noticed that the palm was not weak, so he would have to reveal his abilities. At the very last moment, when the opponent's hand was already in front of Shunyan's face, and he was already starting to reveal his secret abilities, a command sounded for everyone to stop. The elder announced that there were 16 warriors left in the arena. The first phase is complete. The opponent, not yet calming down his heated hand, said that Shunyan was lucky this time. He added that the young man had better pray that he would not meet him in further competitions. Otherwise, Shunyan would not survive. Shunyan asked, if his opponent was another, would he also deal with him in this manner? The young man replied so that Shunyan would not ask for mercy next time. It wouldn't do any good. Dugu called out to Shunyan to stop this pointless conversation. Our hero was lying in his room resting after the competition. Milady said that she had specifically improved his fighting skills. She added that his big bone was a good thing, except that the young man didn't know how to handle it. The guy said he only practiced sword skills, and he can only tap with a bone. Milady explained that there were 3 techniques in this martial skill. Destructive Thunder was the middle skill of the ground level. Meteor is the highest ground level skill. Tiangong is a secondary skill of the sky level. It's very powerful. Shunyan repeated those names. They are so cool. Milady said that it's just a sky level skill. It's just using Reiki and Chi energy. The real power is a combination of heaven and earth. That's why saints are so powerful. Shunyan said that he is too far away from that. He wants to be strong right now. He asked my lady to teach him these techniques. The girl said that he must listen and memorize. First, he must use the Chi energy in his body. Then change the way he uses airflow, which puts a lot of stress on his body. If his body can't control it, he will explode and die. Tiangong uses the power of heaven and earth. Perseverance and understanding should be enough. Milady suggested that we start the training with the first intake. The second day of competition has arrived. Today is the semifinals. The elder began to repeat the conditions of the competition. There will be 8 pairs in which the competitors will face each other. The sheriff will draw the lots. The sheriff agreed and said he was starting. The sheriff began pulling sticks with the names of the participants. The first to be announced was Luo Chen from Qingfeng Academy. He will be fighting against Ji Yun from Tiaheng Academy. The sheriff would call, and the elder would invite those contestants into the arena. The spectators again gave a friendly welcome to all competitors. The young men entered the arena and began to greet each other. One of the warriors traditionally said that he was willing to accept his opponent's defeat, or he would have to be beaten. His opponent wasn't going to give up. That's not why he came here. The onlookers started shouting that this warrior was so rude and nasty. The athlete said that he wouldn't give up so easily and bear his sword. He wants to see Brother G's strength now that he is here. Brother G said it's fine, so let's tumble around the arena. Let's see who's the strongest among us. The warrior immediately stabbed his opponent in the stomach, without even using his sword. The blow was not weak. The young man flew backwards. He was lying on the ground. There was foam coming out of his mouth. The fight is over. The warriors chanted the name of the winner, waving their hands in greeting. Woody Chen and his sister were also on the podium among the spectators. The girl didn't really like the performance. She said that Ji Yun seriously injured others as well. He is not a good person. Brother said that you can't talk about him like that. The girl added that Ji Yun has powerful strength but a terrible character. Woody Chen said that the young man he wants to introduce to her is not only stronger than Ji Yun, he also has a great character. At the same second, there was violence in the stands. Another fight was recorded. The sister took a right hook and her brother got a punch to the jaw. The elder announced the second pair, Ziyu versus Zhaoyan. Ziyu simplified the fight and decided to give up right away. He was only satisfied with making it to the semifinals. Zhaoyan thought it was the right decision and regretted not meeting Shunyan. Shunyan calmly waited to be invited into the arena. The elder announced the third pair, Zhaoyang versus Dugu Jingcheng. Zhaoyang said that he wanted to get to the bottom of it and find out why his opponent had beaten him in the last stage. To do so, they will meet in a fight now. The warrior motioned for Doug to attack first. Dugu took his time and waited for his opponent to yank toward him as well. And then the arc released a powerful charge of energy that flashed between the fighters. It was very strong, and the opponent had no time to do anything about it. His face contorted with horror. He realized the hopelessness of the situation. Zhao Yan flew up, dropped his sword from his hands, and landed on the ground with a somersault. Doug Jingcheng liked the landing. He asked his opponent if everything was all right. He hadn't expected it to get this bad himself. Zhao Yan sat in the arena, blood flowing from his mouth. He was no longer a fighter. Chen Woody couldn't help but laugh. It was hilarious. The spectators in the stands were not happy that the fight was over so quickly. They shouted from the stands that it was a disgrace and there was no need to come to the competition at all. The elder declared Dugu Jingcheng the winner of this fight. Woody Chen's sister remarked that Dugu was very strong. Her brother told her that Dugu Jingchen was very good, but he was only third in their academy. The sister asked, "Who is the second and the first?" Woody Chen said the second one was him. The first one is his son-in-law, Xu Nian. What followed was an untranslatable play on words using the local dialect and another act of violence against his younger brother. The elder announced that Feng Yu had won another fight. Her opponent had been injured in the arm and could not continue the fight. The next battle was won by Wang Dong, a representative of Tianlin Academy. The mysterious girl Lin Ruolan defeats her opponent after a graceful kick to her opponent's chest. Xu Nian, watching this fight, wondered, how could this girl's Reiki be able to carry such an evil and bloody gas? We need to learn more about her cultivation techniques. The seventh pairing is Chen Han versus Lin Shifeng. Xu Nian wished his comrade good luck. The young man noted that only he and Qin Tian were left. The opponent looked arrogantly at the young man. Xu Nian noticed that he was looking down on him, so there would be no mercy for him, our hero decided. The rivals met in the arena. At first glance, it seemed that the forces were clearly not equal. Chen Han said that Lin Shifeng had won last time. Now it was time for a rematch. Lin Shifeng told his opponent not to be overconfident. Chen Han shouted that his strength was beyond imagination. Then he added that he would break his opponent's bones. Then he moved forward, waving his weapon. Chen Han looked very threatening. He jumped up, wanting to strike his opponent hard. Lin Shifeng looked up from below at this with a calm gaze. The swords of the warriors clashed in a fierce confrontation. Sparks flew in all directions. Lin Shifeng looked very dignified and had no intention of yielding to his opponent. The fight was fierce, and it was impossible to know who was gaining the upper hand in this fight. The big guy tried to use his secret technique on his opponent, but Lin Shifeng dodged and grabbed his opponent's arm. The warrior's eyes radiated fury, and it was hard to stand their direct gaze. Our warrior head-butted the bulky man in the nose. He screamed in pain and blood spurted from his nose. After that, Chen Chang collapsed with his back on the ground. Xu Nian exulted with joy. The young men patted each other on the shoulder. Xu Nian knew that his friend would not let him down. He said that he was looking forward to Xu Nian's performance. It would be a great ending to today. The elder announced the last pairing for today, Xu Nian versus Qin Tian. Xu Nian was ready for this fight. His gaze expressed confidence and calmness. Woody Chen's sister, a green-eyed blonde, looked at the young man with interest. Her brother intercepted her gaze and asked if she liked the young man, if she already wanted to marry him. The girl recognized him. This was the same pervert who peeped at her while she was swimming in the wilderness conditions. And this guy was recommended to her by her brother. The girl's face lit up and she said he was very handsome. A plan was already brewing in her head. The youths thought that Qin Tian would easily defeat a weak opponent today. No one had heard anything good about this Xu Nian. One of them regretted not being able to teach the guy a lesson himself. Yesterday, he had gotten 2 of his teammates eliminated from the game. They relied on Qin Tian. He'll pay the price for all of them. Talking among themselves, one told the other that the rivals were half-brothers. However, he added, Qin Tian, the first son, and Xu Nian, the maid son. Qin Tian will not be merciful today. The other person in the conversation only laughed in response. Qin Tian told his brother that he didn't expect to see him at the competition. Xu Nian said that not everything happens as you imagine it to be. He added that Qin Heng died by his hand. Qin Tian was stunned by this news. It was a shock to the young man. Xu Nian continued and said, Brother Hen claimed that he had killed his mom, so I massacred him in a fit of rage. Later, it turned out that his mother was alive. She was taken away by other people. Xu Nian added that there was no need to grieve for his brother too much. Qin Heng sent his half-brother out and shouted loudly. It was a natural reaction. But it was unpleasant to look at. The young man before the fight couldn't contain his emotions. Xu Nian had purposely provoked him to piss him off. Qin Heng pounced on his opponent with curse words, wanting to avenge his brother. Shunyan retaliated by pulling out his secret weapon, the bone. Bone versus sword. Who would have thought? The sword flew out of the warrior's hands. It was very sudden. After flying some distance, the sword stabbed straight into the arena. Chin Hung looked at his sword in surprise. Now he was unarmed, and the opponent had a bone. His hands trembled with excitement. Shunyan apologized and said that his opponent wouldn't be able to deal with him, but he could try again and take his weapon to do so. Chin Hung became even more angry. He realized that his brother was bullying him. The fighter walked over to his sword and gripped it. Shunyan ironically remarked, as he was just about to test out his new technique. The young man was clearly mocking his opponent. Shunyan said that he would now show the best student of Qingling Academy. Everyone was surprised to see that the young man had a sword in his hands again. What kind of strange bone is this? The opponents began to wonder at Shunyan's words. Isn't Dugu Jingcheng the #1 in the Qingling Academy? Shunyan began to emit a powerful energy, and everyone realized that he was not to be trifled with. The sheriff watched with interest to see how the fight would go. Two talented sword masters were performing. Shunyan hit his strength so skillfully. Chin Heng was suppressed. Such a powerful sword aura from his opponent. How is this possible? He asked his brother how he does it. Isn't he a pacifier? Why was he hiding his power? Shunyan said that his brother saw him practicing hard, so he gave him poison. He drank it for 6 years. The audience, hearing this, became outraged. You can't do that, it's not human. The young man added that Qin Yuanshan had destroyed his cultivation and broken his legs, and ordered the servants to throw him on the mass graves. Shunyan said that now it was his turn. He wants to see the fake Qin family's genius power that he has admired since he was a child. Chin Hung said that he would not lose to Shunyan. Chin Hen applied the mid-level ground sword formula. Jin Yuan's strike. Shunyan replied with a drifting wind of 13 swords and showed the wind trace. Our hero stood invincible and confident. He was ready to hide his skills no longer. He was asked how he was able to break a mid-level earth sword so easily. Shunyan shouted to look at his sword. He applied the wind of 13 swords and the thunder of the sky. His opponent was hurt badly and blood gushed from his mouth. He flew far outside the arena and banged against the wall. Chin Hung slid down the wall directly onto the ground. He sat there without moving. Blood continued to flow from his mouth. The young man realized that he had underestimated Shunyan. In the next competition, one must take all aspects into account and be prudent. Everyone pondered over how to behave in the future with Shunyan. The deans met to discuss the results of the performances after the semifinals. Dean Len was told that she had a wonderful student. She replied that she believes in him. This time, she's serious about being #1. Her opponent countered that she was so ambitious. Tianjin Academy is a very serious institution. Dean Len said that she respects Tianheng Academy. She just has a lot of faith in her students. The girl added that Dean Yang probably believes in his students too. All contestants proceeded to their rooms. Standing in front of the entrance were some young men who seemed familiar to Shunyan. When the young man came closer, he saw a girl he never expected to meet. The green-eyed blonde called the guy by name. Next to her was her brother, Chen Woody. The companions told Shunyan while looking at the blonde girl that a beautiful girl was looking for him. Woody Chen introduced her. He said it was his sister, Chen Yao. They came together. The young men began to introduce themselves to the girl, wanting to get her to like them. They said they had just finished performing. Chen Yao didn't react to them in any way. They had to say goodbye and leave. The girl glared at our hero. Her gaze was harsh and did not bode well. Shunyan was at a loss from confusion and didn't know what to answer. Woody Chen said that he was great today, and his sister wanted to get to know him better. The girl's facial expression was still the same. She had a sword swinging in her hand. Before Woody Chen could speak, the girl lunged forward, trying to damage Shunyan with her blade, or at least scare him. The young man barely managed to dodge. The brother, not understanding anything, tried to calm the girl down and said that you shouldn't be so cruel whenever you meet young people. Shunyan shouted that he was Woody Chen's friend. Here the brother couldn't take it anymore and yelled at his sister to stop now. He stood between the young men and like a referee began to pull them apart with his hands. Woody Chen, still not understanding anything, asked his sister why she bare her sword. After all, they had come to get acquainted. The sister told the brother to get away from her. Otherwise, an act of fratricide is about to take place. Woody Chen had already turned to Shunyan when he first met his sister. Why is she behaving so inappropriately? Shunyan hesitated and didn't know how to answer his friend. He probably didn't need to know the whole truth. He said they met once in the monster forest and fought. He won with the help of his eagle, and now she's angry because she doesn't want to lose. Woody Chen genuinely wondered, how could a girl be defeated by a pet? Woody Chen reassured his sister and said that he would be in the fighting clan in a few days, and the two of them would have a fair fight. The brother continued, she has the silver moon dimension, he has the star dimension. It looks like the sister is bullying the young man. Woody Chen decided to take his sister home after meeting her. When he left, he invited Shunyan to visit him at the sheriff's house, because the sheriff was his father. Shunyan was surprised by the fresh news. These young people are brother and sister, and they are also the sheriff's children. I think that's enough news for today. Shunyan in his room was meditating responsibly. Breakthrough of the spirit, cultivation of the body, star dimension, 9 stars. The aura around him shone. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. The young man asked irritably who was there. The door was ajar and appeared on the threshold. The girl with the veil. She said right away without a secret that she didn't expect to see the young man in such good shape, so she got a little carried away. Shunyan recognized her. It was senior sister Lin from Tiantianzong Academy. He asked what brought the girl here. The girl said there was nothing unusual. It's the same as always. She wants to enjoy the moon and talk to the boy about life. Shunyan tensed up. He wasn't like this. He called the girl Senior Marshal Sister Lin, said that it was already too late. This meeting might affect his reputation, and suggested we talk tomorrow. Let's talk and watch the sun. The girl told the guy not to be so ruthless. She was bored on this long night, and she seductively reached for the young man. The conniving lady put her hand on the guy's chest and said that when she sees his naked body, her heart starts beating faster. She wants to stay with him. The girl added that he was so handsome and offered to spend the night with her. Shunyan was angered by the stranger's behavior. After all, he wasn't like that. The young man took out his fist after meditating and drove it right into the young lady's stomach. With the next blow, he smashed the girl's nose. The veil didn't help. After which the seductress left the room, flying out the window. The night was truly unforgettable for her. She flew like a lone star for a long time yet. My lady said to the young man, what a pity. The guy said he was ready and didn't even feel her affecting his mind. Otherwise, she would have succeeded. The naive boy asked my lady what the girl wanted. My lady replied that she wanted his body. How so? Shunyan continued to ask in surprise. My lady explained that she was going to absorb the chi energy and spiritual power of his body. She added that Lin Rulan, just a body. The real Lin Rulan had already been absorbed. Milady assumed that there was a dirty old witch in that body now. Shunyan was afraid for the girl. After all, her body had been seized. The young man thought it was too bad if this old monster had taken a fancy to him. Mentor said there was nothing to worry about. After all, he threw her out with his punch. Her body is the limit of what she can do. The girl added that such evil cultivation depends on various acts. An aura of enchantment is created by an aphrodisiac, but in close combat, this means is ineffective. Shunyan realized that if he met this maiden again, he would need to keep his distance. The next day, the elder entered the arena and began to announce the list of participants for today. The first pair, Ji Yuan versus Lin Shifeng. The second pairing is Yan Yu versus Dugu Jingshan. Third pair, Zhao Yang versus Shunyan. The young men were ready for this fight. Fourth pairing, Lin Rulan versus Wei Dung. Zhao Yang said that he would finally fight Shunyan. He would give his opponent a chance to savor his fire. The young men were discussing who would fight whom. Now they need to go higher than the semifinals. The elder called the first pair into the arena. The warriors bowed to each other. Today must be harder than the day before. The warrior was calculating his chances of victory. Only the best remained. Lin Shifeng told his opponent that he wanted to learn a lesson from him. After that, he swung his sword and went on the attack with a shout. Both warriors were worthy of each other, but Ji Yuan's sword was longer. The young men began the battle. The spectators saw sparks and heard the clinking of blades coming into contact. Each of them showed their skills, and it was difficult to give anyone a preference. The forces were roughly equal. It was a fist fight. It was a real hand-to-hand fight. Lin Shifeng also lands a leg kick to the head. He lost his balance and dropped his weapon. The opponent jumped and delivered another leg kick, blood spurting out of his opponent's mouth. Shunyan saw his comrade fall to the ground. Dugu's brother noticed that the athlete had several broken ribs and an injured lower back. Shunyan shouted that the opponent had done it on purpose. There was no need for that. Ji Yuan was proud of himself. He had won a convincing victory. In response to Shunyan's remark, he only smiled wryly. The elder announced the second pair, Dugu Jingcheng and Feng Yu. Spectators began to place bets on who would win. The audience knew that Feng Yu was born with a sword spirit. She would get a double result by engaging half of her efforts in sword practice. The girl said that she had wanted to fight Dugu Jingcheng for a long time. Now her wish will come true. Brother Dugu said, "You're welcome." The opponents stood in the stands and waited to see who would start first. Dugu Jingchen decided to strike first. He made a dash toward his opponent. The girl was ready to meet him at full strength. Their swords met and they drew apart, testing each other's strength. Turning around, the opponents went on the attack again. The blades glinted in the sun. The strength in the hands of both fighters was incredible. There was no way to determine who might emerge victorious. Both stood a little tired, but neither was going to step aside. Feng Yu said that she recognized that her opponent was a sword-wielding genius. Therefore, she would now use her best techniques. The girl suggested how to fight for the first time. The young man said he had no problem supporting her wish. Feng Yu let go of her sword and it flew. Everyone was of course surprised to see such a phenomenon in the arena. Xunyan immediately realized that the flying sword was the ability of a sage-level master who had discovered spiritual consciousness. The dean said that with a talented student, Chengfeng Academy's ranking would definitely change. Dugu Jingcheng prepared to repel the flying sword attack. Xunyan realized that this was the same technique that Dugu had used in the fight with him. It's very powerful. The girl accompanied the flight of her sword with a powerful shout. From the outside, Xunyan only saw puffs of smoke at the epicenter of events. When the smoke cleared, Dugu Jingchen stood with sword in hand. A large trench ran across the entire arena. Feng Yu was shocked and depressed. She tried her best, but her opponent wasn't hurt. The girl said doomfully she was giving up. There was nothing more for her to do here. Her dean jumped up from his seat and shouted the traditional, "How is this possible?" Feng Yu said that Dugu Zenshin turned out to be just a sharpening stone for her cultivation. She added that the youngster has every chance of taking first place in these competitions. Dugu Jingchen said that when he lost to Xunyan, he was more hurt than he was now. The girl wondered, how was Xunyan Yu? All the spectators were surprised by this as well. How could one lose to Xunyan? What about our bets to win? The elder said we should take a break to clean up the arena. An hour later, everything was ready and could proceed. Fire appeared behind the elder's back. The elder shouted for Xunyan to hurry up. His adversary standing by the fire was shouting at his nerves not to keep him waiting. Xunyan told his opponent not to shout. After cultivating, his character became even worse. The opponent did not stop and continued to shout, swear, and morally humiliate our hero. Then he too directed a blob of his negative energy at Xunyan with a shout, hoping to strike his opponent. Zhao Yan continued to shout, waving his hands and sending his energy towards the young man. Xunyan stood calmly. He did not react to such a provocation. The deans couldn't understand why Xunyan wasn't doing anything. It's dangerous. Dean Lan was worried. It was time for her ward to do something. When that energy almost came close to Xunyan, he extended his hand and commanded, "Stop." Zhao Yan's jaw dropped. He had stopped it. This can't be happening. Xunyan stood and controlled that fireball aimed at him with his hand. The audience couldn't believe it. They had never seen anything like this before in their lives. No one had ever seen it. Xunyan said that he forgot to warn everyone present. He is not only a cultivator, but he is also a refiner. The entire audience grabbed their heads. How can they go up against each other together? That's how it could end. Dean Zhaoyang turned to Dean Len. Why had she been silent about this ability of her student? It turns out that Xunyan was also practicing weapon refinement. The girl said she didn't know about it either. Dean Len thought that the young man had trained his spirit and body at once. Now he's also in refiner. She had truly found a treasure. Zhao Yan shouted that he couldn't believe what was happening. It doesn't happen like this. He decided to try the same thing again. Maybe the last time was a misfire. Zhao Yang shouted that Xunyan would definitely be finished now. Xunyan was ready to repeat this trick once more. There were now 2 fireballs in his hands. He tossed them up, and with the words, "I return this to you," threw it at his opponent. The fireballs flew in the opposite direction. Zhao Yan was terrified of what was about to happen to him. Zhao Yan fell down and couldn't get up. No one had ever done this to him before. Xunyan suggested that his opponent surrender. He's no match for him. It will be a one-gate game from now on. Zhao Yan continued to mutter that it was impossible. He shouted that he wouldn't give up. He's not like that. Everyone was interested in watching the fight continue. The second breath of the enemy was opened. Shunan said that although the latter had made a breakthrough, trash always remains trash. Zhao Yan, all blazing with rage, shouted that he wanted to see how long his opponent would remain arrogant. The spectators in the stands shouted that this had happened before when students made a breakthrough. They said that Shunyan was so confident that he allowed his opponent to make a breakthrough. This type of disciple with amazing talent gains a very large range of strength after a breakthrough. The fireball continued to spin above the arena. Shunyan watched from the side. At the epicenter was Zhao Yang. He said that there would now be consequences for Shunyan. Shunyan wondered what consequences could we be talking about. Zhao Yan said that this was the strength of his divine flame magic skill. Every time the quality of his flames would rapidly increase. Zhao Yan said that no one could stop his sinister flame now. The warrior sent a now blue flame towards Shunyan that no one could stop. Shunyan in his hand with his sword was going to deal with this problem as well. The sheriff watching the fight asked, "Is that the wind? Windblade?" The young man shouted that the sword would destroy the Silver Moon Jin flame. Feng Yu wondered how could her peers have so many powerful sword skills that surpassed her skills. Dugu Jingchen concluded that Shunyan had become stronger. Shunyan, having repelled the attack, said that it was now his turn. He prepared to attack his opponent. The elder realized that something terrible could happen now. Zhao Yan didn't do anything. He just raised his hands in desperation. He only saw his opponent's shadow flicker. Once again, only a trench was left in the arena. Smoke rose above the arena. The spectators could see nothing. When the smoke cleared, everyone saw the elder dragging Zhao Yan. The elder said that Zhao Yan wouldn't be able to withstand this blow. He saved him to avoid losing during the competition. The elder announced Shunyan's victory. The next day, our hero did exercises using a bone instead of a dumbbell and counted. He had already counted to 3,000. He was in a good mood. Young noted that this technique is really hard to practice. Shunyan dreamed of the time when he could master the meteor and tiangong techniques. It was the most powerful martial skill he had ever practiced. In the future, he hoped to master 2 more techniques. His brother came over and said, "Stop practicing. Look how noisy it is outside." He added that Shunyan is now Yi Yun's strongest opponent. The whole city is talking about it. Lin Rulan's fight didn't stir the discussions after Shunyan left. Although Rulan won, there was no applause. It was all nothing compared to the reaction after his win. He told Shunan to take a bath, change his clothes, and come over. Today he has to compete with Lin Rulan. He must defeat her. The young men were told the most unpleasant news. They were very surprised. It turns out Lin Rulan is missing, and Zhao Yan died in his room. Chen Wudi said that it was a terrible loss of life for a young athlete. Shunyan realized that the old witch had done something to Zhao Yan. Looks like we should be more careful in the future. The elders said that Lin Rulan's disappearance is considered as abstinence and Shunyan comes out victorious. The elder announced Zhu Yan and Dugu Jingcheng. The young men entered the arena, both with swords and both confident of their victory. Each thought himself the strongest. Ji Yuan has a very good physical fitness. He has powerful offensive and defensive skills. Dugu Jingchen is very good in attack and sword skills. But with excessive rate consumption, it will show a strong attack and weak defense. This time Ji Yun was really strong and defeated Dugu Jingcheng. Shunan decided to practice both spiritually and physically. What it takes to lay a solid foundation. When he makes a breakthrough, he will be able to defeat an even higher level opponent. The elder announced that Ji Yun gets 2 hours to recover. The finals would take place in 2 hours. The spectators were chanting joyfully. Finally, they would see the fight of the year. The young man meditated. God's spiritual whirlpool. Ji Yun is about to make a breakthrough at this time. Everyone was shouting that he was really determined to win. He was really strong, but now he would be able to break through to the Silver Moon dimension. He would win. The spectators said that Shunyan was able to defeat Zhao Yan, but it was not a fact that he would defeat Ji Yun, who had made a breakthrough. Chen Wudi said that making a breakthrough at such a moment is shameful. Even if he wins, it will be shameful. Sister said that if Shunyan has a choice, he can also make a breakthrough. Chen Wudi added that Shunyan had only been practicing for a few months. It would not be easy to break through. But still, Shunyan would be able to win. The green-eyed blonde did not take her gaze off Shunyan. The young man suggested that Shunyan should also make a breakthrough. Otherwise, he would be in a losing situation. Shunyan didn't know what to say to that. He said that his spiritual cultivation was now at the peak of 9 stars, and his physical strength had only reached 9 stars. It's unwise to make a breakthrough right now, but it's not a hopeless situation. The young man said that he could do it anyway. even if he didn't break through now. Brother Dugu said that one should be careful. Ji Yuan's chi cultivation energy is very strong. His sword is strong in both attack and defense. He won without exerting much effort. Shunyan replied to that, saying that he would try to be more careful. Ji Yuan stood in the arena and summoned his opponent, who never entered the arena on time. The spectators in the stands chanted and said that they were all rooting for Ji Yuan. He is their hero. Shunyan realized that his opponent here was considered a tough guy and everyone worshipped him. The young man suggested that Ji Yuan perform some sort of warm-up first. The opponent didn't understand exactly what he meant. Ji Yuan said that Shunani is not all at home. What kind of warm-up are you talking about? They came here to settle a relationship, not to warm up. Shunyan said that if he tried warming up, he would like it. The opponent said he would give it a try and was happy to teach the lesson. Ji Yuan decided not to be ceremonious for long and went for a warm-up attack. The young man assumed a combat warm-up stance and announced that he was all in anticipation. The opponent put out his furious fist and moved at Shunyan with a shout. Their fists clashed in an unchildish warm-up. The blow was hard. Shunyan flew backwards but managed to stay on his feet. Ji Yuan prepared himself and hoped that his opponent would be defeated, or at least fall to the ground. The warrior was very surprised that Shunyan had steadied himself. This was something he had not expected. All the onlookers were also amazed by the young warrior's resilience. Even the sheriff exclaimed in surprise. Ji Yuan was a strong opponent. Shunyan asked, probably not expecting his opponent to react this way. And this is only a warm-up. The young man added that his spiritual and physical cultivation was already at the 9-star dimension level. Ji Yuan was surprised at the dual cultivation of spirit and body. Shunyan is also an refiner and an excellent swordsman. Why hadn't anyone told him about this before? Ji Yuan asked his opponent how old he was. Shunyan said that he would already be 17 years old in 3 months. He is already almost an adult. Ji Yuan felt frustrated and exhaled. Was it possible to become such a genius at such a young age? This was not what he had been doing in his time. The green-eyed blonde thought she was only a 2-star warrior in her 20s. The wrong direction her development had gone. The sheriff noted the amazing talent this guy has. Ji Yuan angrily said that he had only used 70% of his strength. This was just a warm-up. The next attack would be more powerful. Let's see how Shunyan can handle it now. The athlete gathered all his will into a fist. This fist he sent again, now with even more fury towards his opponent. Shunyan appeared ready for this and set up a blocking move. But the blow was powerful, 1.5 times stronger. Therefore, Shunyan flew backwards. As our hero flew, Ji Yuan uttered that he would show what real speed was. Shunyan landed on his feet. He steadied himself again and did not fall to the ground. Ji Yuan immediately jumped up to him to continue the fight. He threw a very strong punch, which Shunyan was able to dodge. Ji Yuan executed punch after punch. His opponent couldn't take a break for even a second. The young men were about equally prepared, so at this stage it was hard to see who could win this battle. Ji Yuan raised himself above his opponent, about to apply his hand-to-hand combat techniques. Shunyan, having figured out his plan, only smirked in response. He already knew what he would do next. Without waiting for his opponent to strike, our hero decided to counterattack and jumped up to strike. Young threw a right jab, but his opponent had time to block it, and his fist went off at a tangent. Shunyan did not stop. His blows came one after another. At some point, our hero missed a shot and lost his balance. The blow was so strong that the young man tumbled over himself several times. But he managed to regroup and attempted a series of retaliatory strikes. One of these punches had reached its target. The target was Ji Yuan's jaw. The blow was so strong that the opponent flew through and fell to the ground. Shunyan announced that his opponent didn't have much of an advantage even after breaking through. He has a little more strength, but he is definitely not faster. Ji Yuan said in response that his opponent was really strong, and even superior to the Silver Moon Warrior. Not only is the difference between them in spiritual strength, chi energy, and physical form, but he is even higher than his opponent in level. Shunyan responded by telling his opponent to stop bragging and show his full strength already. Ji Yuan shouted loudly and activated his energy beast. His energy beast appeared above its master, instilling terror in everyone around him. Everyone said that it was an energy armor chi. Ji Yuan is so powerful that he can already use the powerful chi armor. The spectators also decided that this powerful armor chi was a skill that only a 4 or 5-star bodily kin could possess. Ji Yuan moved towards his opponent along with his energy armor. Shunyan knew that he would still beat his opponent. He wouldn't be intimidated by such things. The young man himself began to release powerful charges of energy and direct these flows into his opponent. Ji-Yuan moved towards his opponent with full confidence that he was about to be completely dealt with. Shunyan activated the Thunderlord's fist. The two opponents again delivered powerful blows at each other, and fists met. Their clash continued with renewed vigor. Shunyan was more agile this time and landed a solid punch to his opponent's stomach. He immediately lost his breath. He flew aside with tremendous force. His landing point was somewhere off the edge of the arena. Ji-Yuan lay sprawled out in the arena and traditionally thought how such a thing was possible. He lay motionless and the audience fell silent, waiting for him to continue. Woody Chen told his sister that even after the breakthrough, Ji-Yuan was not Shunyan's opponent. The girl looked at the young man differently now. He began to occupy her heart. Ji-Yuan stood there resting and thinking that he shouldn't lose this fight. He gathered his strength, activated the sword option, and was going to make an attack like that. Ji-Yuan intercepted his battle sword. He uttered, "The sword that opens the mountains." Shunyan said that he liked warriors who fought with all their might. His battle bone appeared in his hands. The boy swung his bone and prepared to meet his opponent. Ji-Yuan swung his sword at his opponent with all his might. The blow hit the bone. The young man shouted loudly, hoping to produce a frightening effect. He hoped that Shunyan would not be able to withstand such an onslaught now. There was a release of energy at the point where the bone and sword made contact, and the warriors flew away from each other. Ji-Yuan flew with great speed. It landed with terrible force, and a crater formed at the place where it fell. The young man lay still and did not move. It was unclear what was happening to him. Everyone around them was stunned. No one had expected such a turn of events. Dean Len was taken aback. She didn't think her student was capable of such blows. Sister and Brother Chen exclaimed in surprise. Shunyan's companions were also stunned. Even the sheriff stood up and started applauding. He said that it was a great battle. He didn't expect to see such an amazing talent among the Dongyang country's young people. The spectators in the stands chanted the name of our hero. It was a success. Friends shouted that Shunyan was #1 in the world of hand-to-hand combat. Dogu Jingcheng recognized that Shunyan should rightfully be declared the best warrior in this tournament. The sheriff decided to personally congratulate the winner. The champion, seeing the sheriff above him, remarked that he was very fast. Shunyan bowed respectfully. The sheriff noted that the young man had surprised him with his performance today. The sheriff personally announced the young man as the winner of the academy competition. Shunyan and the sheriff were in the arena, and all around the spectators were chanting the young champion's name. The sheriff said that in addition to all the rewards, he would break the rules, and Shunyan could join the military palace today, and held out the military palace token to the young man. Shunyan eyed the item with curiosity. Everyone around them started talking that the rule allowing only the Silver Moon dimension to enter the martial palace had been broken. The young man thanked the sheriff for such a gracious gift. The sheriff said that he would send someone to his residence to give him a heaven-level martial skill and a magic golden crystal steel. As for the 3-day practice, the young man could come to the palace at any time. The elder announced that Qinling Academy was the winner of the competition. Dean Len accepted congratulations from her colleagues. Shunyan, looking at his gifts, rejoiced like a child. Heaven-level martial prowess and magical golden crystal steel were very useful. Shunyan thought for a moment. He decided to ask my lady for one favor. The next day, the students of Qinling Academy told the dean that they wanted to stay. They've already made their decision. They will now proceed to the military palace to report it. The dean wanted to talk to Shunyan alone and took him aside. The two of them strolled toward the woods. The dean reminded the young man that she had asked him not to go to the capital. The guy said he remembers everything because his life could be in danger in the capital. The dean said she was at fault for this and asked not to blame her. Shunyan said that he had already guessed it, but why should he blame the girl? She said she would go back to him in 2 years. They'll be stronger then, and if he still had that desire, she would go with him to the capital. Shunyan was upset that he had to wait for another 2 years. The young man concluded that meant in 2 years they would enter the capital together. The migratory bird took its host to new adventures. Shunyan left his dean a gift and asked him to open it on his way home. The girl was surprised by the thing. In the box was a beautiful woman's sword. It was made of magical golden crystal steel. The dean decided that he had been very careful in choosing a gift for her. The 3 young men approached the military palace. The young men were talking among themselves that they never expected to be able to join the military palace. It is so exciting. Shunyan reasoned that he had been banished from the Qin family and was now in the military palace. Failure and adversity go far beyond the imagination of the average person. The young men in the palace approached the receptionist on duty. The girl and everyone asked for name and identity. The young man identified himself as Lin Shifeng from Qinglin Academy. The girl handed him a duffel bag, token, and room keys. The rules inside the bag. The administrator called out the next one. The next one was named Dugu Jingcheng from Qinglin Academy. He also received the same set of items. Next was Shunyan from Qingling Academy. The receptionist, hearing his name, was surprised. Did she say that it was the same Shunyan with amazing lewdness? Shunyan was also surprised. What was wrong with him? Why with the lewdness? He's not like that. The young man immediately assumed that the administrator knew about Chen Yao's situation. Does Chen Yao even care about his reputation? The administrator said that she has seen many people chasing Chen Yao and knows all their possible tricks. But this was the first time she had heard of someone using theft to get the girl's attention. The receptionist said that if a young man wanted to seduce Chen Yao, thinking he had a great figure, he should show that figure to her first. Shunyan didn't know where to hide in this situation. After all, he wasn't like this. The girl continued that Chen Yao is the first beauty of the military palace. Her talent and personality are extraordinary. That's why she is popular here. The girl said that many students are courting her, and rumors of your indecent acts have spread throughout the military palace. So many people want to fight you. You should be careful. Shunyan didn't even believe that it was about him, and someone had already called out to him. The young man looked around and saw a group of students. They were looking for Shunyan and an adventure for themselves. The young man said it was him. What they want from him. The students said they wanted to see how formidable this young man looked. The student added that it would be better to learn from the elders of the military palace in the future, and advised Shunyan not to wet himself on the battlefield and disgrace the military palace. Shunyan pretended to be frightened and asked if it had ever happened before that young cadets had urinated in their underpants. The opponent tensed up, didn't know what to say to that. He pounced on Shunyan and said that a military palace couldn't have people who were afraid to fight. Shunyan replied, why did they think that the three of them would be afraid on the battlefield? The sheriff was watching all the battles, and he gave a reward for entering the military palace. The young man added that the sheriff can't be wrong, or maybe someone here thinks the sheriff has bad eyesight. The student realized that Shunyan had beaten and framed him, and shouted in anger that the sheriff can't be wrong. He has a very high level of development and excellent eyesight, and the sheriff can't pick the wrong person. Shunyan summarized that his interlocutor knew how to flatter people. The young man was no longer interested in socializing and said since he was already being looked at, he would go about his business. The bully yelled that he wasn't letting anyone go. Shunyan asked what else he wanted. The one explained to him that he had better stay away from Junior Marshal, Sister Chen Yao. Otherwise, his merit would not help him deal with the problems that had arisen. And he won't hold back if he has to fight Shunyan in the future. Shunyan said that anything was possible. But if he were to lose, it would only be because he didn't know martial arts. In fact, the young man said he would do whatever he wanted. The only way to keep him is to break his leg, if I can do that. The bully realized that the young man was continuing to bully him. He said the guy was fed up with life. He was about to rush at the new recruit to settle things in a fistfight, but his companions managed to hold him off. He was kicking and screaming not to be stopped. The receptionist said that all fighting was forbidden in the palace and sent everyone away. The student said that he was letting the recruit go this time, but he must memorize Lu Mishan's formidable name. They will meet again. The students of Qinglin Academy calmly went about their business, paying no heed to this upstart's threats. The administrator was left alone at her battle station. She thought that smart people should realize that Chen Yao lied, but lying works more convincingly. The girl dreamed and decided that Shunyan had some kind of power and talent. The girl concluded that he was still very young. And that's sad. Shunyan told his companions that the local guys were very nervous. For himself, Shunyan decided that he would have a very nervous life in the palace. All three of them, chuckling, went to their rooms. 20 days had passed. One of the friends was already lying in bandages. Shunyan asked, how could he have gotten such injuries? The young man told me that he almost died. It was very difficult there. He added that it is reasonable for a military mansion to separate the salary and title into 9 stars. They have a rank of 1 star, and each of them takes on an assignment of the appropriate level. He needed to straighten out the bandits, but was ambushed by a mountain king with a large group of Luo. After receiving 4 hits, he slew the mountain king, who made a breakthrough of 2 stars in the Silver Moon dimension. Jingsheng chased after the big thief and he taunted him, having a lot of experience in Jianghu. If it wasn't for the military mansion's information about his location, they would have definitely died. Xunyan said that he had been practicing his martial skills lately and had reached a stalemate. It was probably time for him to fight. The comrade told Xunyan that he should be more careful. There's a big mountain fortress there. It was a mistake to rush straight there. We should have made a few checks, get rid of all the guards and challenge the king of the mountain. Then it wouldn't have been so frustrating. The guy added that he's really not experienced yet. Xunyan said he would draw conclusions, and he will be extremely careful and won't make the same mistakes. Xunyan decided that he would not waste any more time. He said he's already here 7. The receptionist said the young man was late, and that's inexcusable. Xunyan asked why. After all, it's